not your image erased. No different than carrot comes, so you could keep your African and run somewhere else with your marathon. Laugh now, cry later, cause we gonna laugh when you cry at the gator. Alligator, Alcatraz, there's no soul leader. The code is the leader, there's no soul leader. The code is the leader. Subscribe to FBA News and Updates, yeah. Subscribe to FBA News and Updates, yeah. I heard tethers flock together, so if you hit one with a rock, then they'll drop together. Why cosplay? Accept your own and be yourself. When you're left alone, you can feed yourself. There's no soul leader. The code is the leader. There's no soul leader. The code is the leader. There's no soul leader. We gatekeeping the culture. From these gate-seeking vultures. Drop the colors so someone gotta hold the line, and somebody gotta hold the signs. No coons, no tethers, no room for white supremacists. We fight, we gotta Mayweather, Mike Tyson. We fight, they take flight, they got spirit. Delta, US Airlines, messed up hairlines. Alligator, Alcatraz. There's no soul leader. There's no soul leader. Say it with me, family. There's no soul leader. There's no soul leader. There's no soul leader. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to like and subscribe. I heard tethers flock together, so if you hit one with a rock, then they'll drive together. Why cosplay? Accept your own and be yourself. When you're left alone, you can feed yourself. There's no soul leader. The code is the leader. There's no soul leader. The code is the leader. There's no soul leader. The code is the leader. There's no soul leader. The code is the leader. There's no soul leader. The code is the leader. There's no soul leader. Say it with me, family. There's no soul leader. The code is the leader. Make sure to like and subscribe. Subscribe, FBA News and Updates. Subscribe, FBA News and Updates.
Peace to the family, peace to the family, peace to the family. Hey, man, after doing the research, doing the reaction videos and, talking to these tethers and Pan-Africanists, I'm looking at it like, and we're listening to our experts, our scholars, right? The latest one was Dr. Sandy Derry, and I'm looking like they're explaining the only way to get reparations, and they're talking about any other way, it won't happen. Okay. And they're specifically saying if you make it race based, it's a wrap. And then you got these Pan-Africans who are stuck on making it race based. I'm like, is that just a mistake or is that intentional? And then, after I keep playing these over and over and over and over and over, so I watched Sandy Derry again, family. That's why I didn't go live earlier, like I was supposed to. I watched both of his interviews with Dr. Mayat again. I'm telling you, family, I love doing this. I love researching. I'm a natural researcher. I'm a natural journalist. It was easy for me to watch both of those interviews over. And he said some interesting things I didn't catch the first time around, but I clipped a lot. I'm gonna play a lot. He's gonna expose a lot of self-sabotaging from these Pan-Africanists. You got the Black City Plan guy who wrote that trash article or whatever that was, research paper it's supposed to be. And Dr. Sandy Darity said something very important. And you're gonna see the clip. He said, matter of fact, that's the first, no. I'll come back to that. I'm gonna tell you. So the Black City Plan, that Libyan dude who's cosplaying as FBA, he said that we should go after states and local reparation. Now, Yvette Carnell Ben said that's a nothing burger. But when the expert, the economist, Dr. Sandy Darity explained why that's a nothing burger, I was like, wow. So like they are really trying to sabotage our reparation claim. They're making us go after they're trying to have us do race based, which is nothing burger, and then go after the local states the local state governments. State, let's just say states governments instead of federal government, which is another nothing burger. So I'm like, wow, like so if they can't get us with race based, then they'll misdirect us. Okay, well, go after the local state governments and not the federal national government. So like they're trying to sabotage us different ways. Okay, if this doesn't work, let's hit them with that. If that doesn't work, let's mislead them over here. And you can't do that, mislead them over here. And all of this, I believe, all of this they're doing, all these efforts are to save is that all those efforts, in my opinion, are to save Africa's ass. I don't think they want to be, I think they know what's coming. I think maybe it's not coming. Maybe their insecurity believe it's coming. But I believe some of those countries believe a claim is going to be headed their way. So they're like hell with it, man. We're going to just sabotage it all. The white man ain't going to pay. Us Africans ain't going to pay. Nobody going to pay. Because all of these uh, attempts to like fail reparations for us, to lose reparations for us, all of these can't be coincidences. All of these can't be coincidences. Like something is there's something there, man. The more I keep reading and listen to these folks out their own mouth, like the hatred, oh, it's divisive. Oh, don't do it. Okay, let everybody get it. It's very interesting. They're playing with us. Watch this right here. Here is listen to right here. So this is where I'm starting to think they're playing with us. Reparations now, the Caribbean claim for reparations. Right. It's be a lot of work. Now, it's like a lot of work doing this research, connecting these dots. Check this out.
Those who still suffer the consequences of enslavement from claiming reparation, even though the crimes were committed against their ancestors. And there are cases where the consequences of the crime committed are visited upon the descendants of the
Check this
victims.
out.
We have
You heard her?
evidence.
Descendants of the victims. She's talking about the Caribbean. So they are specifically speaking about this. This is for CARICOM, by the way. You see the title. So they are specifically talking about lineage-based reparations and CARICOM. You're hearing them say it for themselves. Now look where I'm at in the video. This is an hour and 22-minute video. I watched damn near all of it because I knew there was something here. Listen.
Of the crime committed are visited upon the descendants of the victims. We have
Descendants of the victims. They're talking about themselves to the enslaved or injured party, which are Caribbeans. So they're speaking like how we speak for us. They're speaking for themselves. They're descendants of uh, the injured party, the people who were made to do the physical labor, like we are. We're the descendants of those people. All right. So this is why I don't feel bad when I get support, financial support, because this takes a lot of work, and that motivates me to go dumb hard. Listen.
we have evidence. So the narrative about no victim and even this suggestion.
So they're making, so basically Britain is making the same bad faith argument that white people make for us. Oh, there's no victims. The people who were enslaved, they're dead. They passed away, so there's no victims. So they're making the same weak argument towards the Caribbean. Ain't no victims. You know, those Caribbean people dead.
By some people in the UK that we have to prove or direct link to West Africa. I mean, honestly.
Prove a direct link to West Africa.
But I think international law provides the means for descendants to receive recompense on behalf of their ancestors. And we have a case, for example.
Recompense on behalf of the ancestors. Family, that's lineage based. We don't have no Caribbean ancestors. They're talking about from the islands. One more time. Those are slow.
But I think international law provides the means for descendants to receive recompense on behalf of their ancestors. And we have a case, for example, the order made under the British Foreign Compensation Act of 1950 provided that the Foreign Compensation Commission should treat as established any claim relating to certain property in Egypt sequestered by the Nasser government if the applicant were the owner or the successor in title of such owner. And this clearly indicated that the children and grandchildren of the original dispossessed owners were entitled to claim.
The children and grandchildren family. One more time. This is direct connections to the Caribbean. She just said children and grandchildren.
And were the owner or the successor in title of such owner. And this clearly indicated that the children and grandchildren of the original dispossessed owners were entitled to claim. And finally, on the point...
I gotta clip that.
Point, Professor, about the UN treaty bodies...
I gotta clip that.
...to claim. And finally, indicated that the children and grandchildren of the original... And this clearly indicated that the children and grandchildren of the original dispossessed owners were entitled to claim. And finally, on the point, Professor, about the UN treaty bodies and so on. So I'm a member of the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, and there's a legal opinion that
she going somewhere else. Hold on.
In title of such owner, successor in title of such owner, were the owner or the successor in title. If the applicant were the owner or the successor by the Nasser government, if the applicant were the
Let me get it
sequestered
right.
by the Nasser
Hold on.
Egypt, sequestered by the Nasser.
Come on.
Claim relating to certain property
Here we
established. Any claim relating to certain property in Egypt, sequestered by the Nasser government, if the applicant were the owner or the successor in title of such owner. And this clearly indicated that the children and grandchildren of the original dispossessed owners...
Now, I want to take it there.
...successor in title of such owner.
All right, hold on.
And this clearly indicated that the children and grandchildren of the original dispossessed owners were entitled to claim. And finally...
Entitled to claim.
Were entitled. And this clearly entitled to claim. And this clearly indicated that the children and grandchildren of the original dispossessed owners...
Let's continue.
Point, Professor, about the UN treaty bodies and so on. So I'm a member of the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, and there's a legal...
All right. So Golden Brown says, around the FBA News, you are wrong. The Japanese Americans had to unify and use Black American Civil Rights Bill. I'm wrong about what? The fuck you talking about? Matter of fact, like you over here, you know what? I'm gonna time you out for 24 hours. Goodbye, Golden Brown. Now, that's the first wrench person I had to time out. Yeah, she's been poking at me for no reason. She's been beefing with Moonduck in the chat, and I stayed out of it. I don't get, because we're 43 million deep. We're going to argue. We're going to fight. I'm no referee. As long as it's not too distracting and it's not carrying on, carrying on, carrying on. You dig? But she's mad at Moonduck, and she's been throwing shots at all of us in the chat, making disparaging remarks, and I've been ignoring her, ignoring her. I even warned her, hey, relax. Okay, you had a little beef, you're a little hurt right now. He didn't moved on, right? He living his best life, and she keep picking and poking and picking and poking and picking. I'm like, yo, listen, listen, you got nothing nice to say. Stay out of the chat, okay? But the show gonna go on, and now she's gonna make me wrong or something I never said. What the fuck he talking about? I never said that Japanese Americans didn't use anything from civil rights. I never said that. All I said was it was lineage based. So Golden Brown, we'll see you tomorrow, 10 o'clock. And if you act like a fool tomorrow, I'm just gonna ban you permanently. All right. All right. You're hurt. It takes two people to argue in the chat. You went to argue with Moondock. He cooked you. Move on. He moved on the next day. You still bitter. 3 days later, you're still carrying on that stuff, man. And you're trying to include me in this. But I have nothing to do with two people arguing in the damn chat. Leave me out of it. Now, since you want me involved, I timed your ass up. Okay? So now leave me alone.
Legal opinion that that treaty body could be the root also for the advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice. But there are others who, including some members of the ICJ, who feel we would have a better chance in the General Assembly to get the number.
Now, Golden Brown, I want you to, you kind of miss, no, you definitely miss, I never say anything about the Japanese Americans and us. I never compared them to what we got going on. I just said they got lineage-based reparations, which is a fact. You want to try to make me wrong, goodbye. Now, tomorrow, if you start something else, you'll be permanently blocked, right? And whatever troll account that you create, Claude Neely, Franz Cress Wilson, Amos, Dr. Amos Wilson, you dig in the building. He said no actions under SWS, just like everything is intentional by ship's captain, everything is intentional under the suspected white supremacists. The current captain rulers of the world, SWS, needs FBA to remain a bottom caste. Right, 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 right. Much love to you, also Blue Lotus TV. Taya, Tay, Carter, please, fam, like the show. Yeah, definitely like the video. The night crew usually like the video. Okay, so what I'm doing right now, for anybody's catching up, what I'm doing right now, I'm showing you how CARICOM, you can see them. You can see them. It's no rumors now. We're listening to their argument for reparations from the UK, right? Listen, and we're hearing it from their mouths. They're talking about the children and grandchildren from the injured party, the descendants of the injured party. All right. This is a lineage based claim. It's not a race based claim.
Of votes to go there. So all these are on the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can I just add to that? I really agree with what you just laid out. I think it's important to note what you said about the continuing nature of, we have victims here amongst us every day, all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think the work on generational trauma, et cetera, is very helpful in that respect. Yeah. And I also think that we have to contest the notion of individualized so-called justice, mm-hmm. right? That we have to look to collective rights and to collective entities. And finally, on that point, I just wanted to say that to the extent, if we have...
Now, family, I got to be honest. When I say Pan-Africans, I'm not talking about just foreigner Africans. We're talking about people who are supposedly FBA, who are sabotaging us for Africans, right? Or for whoever it is. So we got FBAs out there in this religion, Pan-Africanism, and they are frontline sabotaging us, redirecting us from the correct direction to file a reparations claim. They're purposely trying to mislead us.
A right to a remedy, and no remedy is being provided. The denial of a remedy is an ongoing harm. Mm-hmm. And so we have ongoing harm now in all of these cases. And therefore, to me, that trumps any statute of limitations argument too.
Thank you for that. I'm going to We have so many questions in such little time.
So
No.
I
we're
don't
here.
think this room likes my name or something. Okay, we'll put it here, I think.
This is somewhat of a philosophical question because reparations, we've talked about it mainly from a practical standpoint, the organizing, what the remedy looks like. But there's also the philosophical idea of reparatory justice, and I think this question is speaking to that. So the question is a forced apology worth it? Don't people have to understand how what they have done hurts them as well as those they have oppressed? And so maybe the bigger...
Stop and wait on it. But historically and continue to have policies that disfigure.
Now, these island folks, these Caribbean people, these West Indians, they're not tethers, right? They're not trying to tether on into FBA reparations. They are holding their own right now. So I salute them. They don't have a panel arguing, trying to be attached to our reparations claim. These are not tethers. These are the riders of the island class. You're right. These are the fighters right here. They're fighting. They're not fleeing. They're fighting, right? And they're arguing in good faith for reparative damage. This is what we wanted them to do, and they're doing it. So I have no problem with these uh, uh, West Indians. You dig? I respect them, and they're not fleeing. They're fighting. They're not giving up, right? So I got respect for what they're doing, and they're standing tall. They're saying lineage-based reparations is a go. So I support what they're doing, and they obviously support what we're doing because they're doing their own thing. They're not trying to tether on to what we got, like so many West Indians have tried to do and is trying to do. So I salute this commission. I salute what they're doing. I hope they're very successful, and I see them at the top. And I will see them at the top of the mountain. All right, so now let's move on. Let's move on. Okay, so this is the title. The title here is with Laura Abba, who's also known as Naeem, Asari Motep. So Laura Abba, Naeem, same person. He is a representative of the U.S. freedmen, right? Or American freedmen. Forgive me for botching it, whichever one it is. Then we have Asari Motep. He's a Pan-Africanist. We got Dr. Mayat, Pan-Africanist. And I believe this dude with the Yankee, I think he's with the Freedmen. I think him and Naeem, Laura Abba is together, I think. Okay, but the question is, can reparations be achieved without Pan-Africanism? And that was supposed to be my title. I might change this, I might not. But I have the reason I chose the title I have now is because the research I came across said, yo, are they purposely trying to sell us out? Trying to sell our reparations claim down the river? Because that's where the arrows are pointing. You dig? Anyway, for matter of fact, let me give a roll call real fast. So we have Salida, American Indian in the building. We have Natural Beauty. We have Abby Dew. We have Fresh Always. We got Berners Brass. We got Golden Brown. She just in a 24-hour timeout. I never had a timeout of lineage renter before. That's interesting. First time for everything. 1865 in the building. We got John Roy. We got Blue Lotus TV in the building. We have Claude Nelly France Amos Wilson in the building. He gave a $10 super chat donation. All right. Peace to that. Respect to that. Andre Townsell. We got Miss D, Six Women's Sports. We got I Am Six. We have Hasim Abdul Jalil. We got Black Feather Archery in the building. Peace to you, Claus and Dam. Yeah, man, I love it. I love the love Renaissance woman. It seems like you guys are taking it serious. You're not playing. It's not just entertainment. It's also information for some of you guys. I really like it, and I could tell because you're consistent with pulling up. And I'm sure you guys could be doing something else. You could be watching funny things on Instagram. You did, Instagram. Once you go there, look at one thing, you're stuck for 40 minutes, guaranteed. So I appreciate it's a sacrifice for everybody. It's a sacrifice for me. Got to do the research. Got to spend a lot of time on this only. And some of you guys would like to be watching TV or some shit, and maybe you still can watch TV or mute and turn up the volume on the live. You dig? We got Crystal Ford in the building. I said Renaissance woman. I'm always listening in the background. I appreciate that, Crystal Ford. And a simple hi. Sometimes, yeah, you guys don't know what words can motivate and inspire somebody. Like just the fact that I know you're there, because I see, obviously I see 73 people watching, only like 15 people chatting. So we know there's, you know, 60 people out there somewhere. But just to see people say hello or checking in is sometimes refreshing. It makes me feel good because those 60 people in the shadows to me could be enemy. It could be haters, ops, tethers, white supremacists in the background, just trying to split my videos and make videos out of context. Matter of fact, I had just commented to two YouTube creators who are hell bent sold on making videos specifically about Tariq Nasheed. And they have no views. So I hit them up. I said, yo, don't y'all get, I mean, if you're gonna troll, at least be successful. You might be successful without talking about Tariq Nasheed or FBAs. You just might be successful, but you're stuck on talking about us. You think the only success in the YouTube space is to disrespect FBAs. Like you're really wasting your real talent. You might be good at doing reaction on games, right? Gaming. You might be good at watching dog shows and making funny sound effects. You feel me? But you're wasting your time trying to be successful, disrespecting Tariq Nasheed specifically and FBAs indirectly. And it's not working. You're 3 years in, no views, man. 50 total views in your damn video. Your video is 2 years old. You got 50 total views. At some point, you got to say, hey, this ain't working. We got Rico Miller in the building. All right, so let's get started. Let's get started. You see the title. Can reparations be achieved without Pan-Africanism? And let me create another window. But this is going to be for my clips that I just made today with Sandy Darity. All right. 'Cause I believe I'm gonna need those based upon what they say. He said, nah, Berners Brad said, nah, their only talent is good at hating. That's terrible because they're not really good at that.
Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. All right, thank you for that. Thank you for that, BTP Ali. I'm waiting for I just sent Brother Sinjetti the link, and so hopefully he'll be joining us shortly. But in the
Okay, so now that's another Pan-Africanist. So she already got herself and this dude right here. So it's like 2v2, two Pan-Africanists. You got Naeem Lord Abba, aka Lord Abba, and you have this brother. I think he's with Naeem, aka Lord Abba. So it's 2v2. She's trying to get more backup. Oh, we got Sinjetti coming on, another Pan-Africanist. It's like, oh boy. And this dude right here, top right corner, I asked him to hey, you want to have a discussion? And he said yes. And I reached back out to him and nothing burger. So these two right here both agreed to have a conversation with me and two nothing burgers. Matter of fact, let me show you something, family. I stay active. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This guy right here. Okay. Listen, I'm active on these tethers. Look, okay, this is another Tariq Nasheed hater. Matter of fact, I had played his Diaspora Wars. Like they were the annoying group. But I played the Diaspora Wars and they was hating big time on FBA. Remember the host with the A hat, the Atlanta hat? This is him. So I said, hey man, would you come to my panel? He said, yeah, sure. And he did that 7 hours ago. I responded immediately and he had responded since. As you can see, look, I'm gonna scroll up. See? That's the last thing he texted. That's it. Oh, nobody else. Nobody else. Okay, so I be trying to call these dudes out, man, every chance I get, and sometimes one person shows up. But I'm doing my job. When I see them, I invite before I cook on them, I send an invitation. Matter of fact, let me start the video. I'm gonna put my Cash App in there also while we play the video. Hope you don't mind. But time is money. I spend a lot of time on my research, so a dollar or two is good enough.
Meantime, we can jump on in, to the first question, which is, what is the best strategy? What strategy is best, I'm sorry, to achieve reparations, Pan-Africanism or good old American politics? Who wants to go first, Brother Asar or Lord Abba? Which one?
I think Brother Asar should go first, being that, we kind of laid out our case last week. So his, appearance here is a response to what we said, and then we can just, elaborate a little bit further on the question from our position.
Okay, so which strategy, Brother Asar, is best, Pan-Africanism or just participating in good old American politics? Oh, you're muted, Brother Asar.
Testing.
Well, you're good. I'm going to mute my mic while you speak. Okay, go ahead, brother.
Yes. What I was saying is that it just depends. And I think there needs to be some clarity first on what Pan-Africanism is and what it all encompasses. And I think when we get that clarity, then we will see just how limited the nature of the debate is in the first place. And so it's going to require me to share my screen. And let me know if y'all can see everything.
I can see your screen.
All righty. And so the fundamental question is, can reparations be achieved without Pan-Africanism? My answer is yes and no. Some important books for those in the audience who want to study Pan-Africanism. There's Unity or Poverty, The Economics of Pan-Africanism. There's the Routledge Handbook of Pan-Africanism. And then there's the Encyclopedia of Black Studies. And
you can't have a Pan-Africanist on a panel and they don't show a bunch of books written by Pan-Africanists. And they got the book bartering system. And the book bartering system is what I call it.
And I would want you to go to the entry on Black nationalism. And so those texts are there for your reference. And some of this will come from these texts. And so the main question is, what is Pan-Africanism? And so I want to give some context to the discussion and the nature and the evolution of Pan-Africanism. So we first start off with the ideas as expressed by W.B. Du Bois. He says in The World in Africa, the text, the idea of one Africa to unite the thought and ideals of all native peoples of the dark continent belongs to the 20th century and stems naturally from the West Indies and the United States. Here, various groups of Africans, quite separate in origin, became so united in experience and so exposed to the impact of new cultures that they begin to think of Africa as one idea and one land. Thus, in the late 18th century, when a separate Negro church was formed in Philadelphia, it called itself African, and there were various African societies in many parts of the United States.
I believe that's. I hope you ain't talking about the AME Church family. I'm getting tired of that Pan-Africanist argument. The AME Church, it says African Methodist Episcopal family. The later leaders, Richard Allen is, if that's the church he's speaking about, Richard Allen is the founder of that church, and the other leaders wanted to get rid of African out the name. They thought that was a bad idea. Okay, so they never want to talk about that. And we have names of people who actually was in leadership who felt like African in the name AME was terrible. They wanted like hell to get rid of it. Okay, so I'm tired of these guys like misrepresenting history. Okay. Oh, it was called African. Yeah, but did you talk about the leaders that was in leadership roles who wanted to get rid of that African? Come on, man. Like this is garbage research.
So the idea of Pan-Africanism emerges from the unity of the Africans in the various parts of the West. For example, African Americans or the Jamaicans or the Haitians in those different locales. Wherever a gang of people of Africans had to unite, they formed one unit, one common kind of cultural experience as a result of, you know, the different factors that brought them there together in the first place. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The late historian Rayford Logan, who used to teach at Howard University, in his text, The Historical Aspects of Pan-Africanism, kind of lays out something that a lot of people may not realize about Pan-Africanism. So he says,
yeah, I'm not familiar with Rayford Logan. That's why a lot of times I like to listen to their information, because they direct me where to go. Like, I'm not a Pan-Africanist. I never was. Okay, like if anything, I was like into RBG from like a nationalist perspective, but I was not even that. Like, I was just a person who had an interest in it, but I never really went around with Kwanzaa gear or RBG stuff all over myself. You know, it appealed to me, but I never took the uniform and went anywhere with it. But I like when they give me names, because I wouldn't know where to start. I'm trying to learn Pan-Africanism to debunk it. But thank you for Rayford Logan. Let me write that name down.
the credit for conceiving the idea of the Pan-African Conference that met in London in 1900 belongs to Henry Sylvester Williams, a young West Indian lawyer. Among his aims were to bring peoples of African descent throughout the world into closer touch with one another and to establish friendlier relations between the Caucasian and African races. That he did not envision self-government or independence in Africa is evident from another of his stated objectives, namely to start a movement looking forward to the securing to all African races in civilized countries their full rights and to promote their business interest. It was William Edward Boucard Du Bois, W.B. Du Bois, as chairman of the conference's committee on address to the nations of the world.
I gotta pause it. That's another thing, Taya. They always want to bring up books, so nobody read more books than them. And also, they attend the most conferences ever. All they do is attend conferences. They attend conferences, and they got the book barter system. They just trade books all day long. But all they do is attend Pan-Africanist conferences. That's all Umar ever did. That's all they do is attend conferences and just talk about Africa being the center of the world and Wakanda dream shit. But that's all they do is attend conferences.
Who transformed Williams' limited conception of Pan-Africanism into a movement for self-government or independence of African peoples. So this idea of Pan-Africanism emerges on the security and the establishment of the full rights, both economic and politically, in each respective place where people in the African diaspora have been placed in these quote unquote, with using the language of the day, those civilized nations. And so when you read further their literature, this includes reparation, which includes free education. Okay,
that part, he made that shit up. See, it's so before he said that, everything he said was true. Nothing he said was false until he said it included reparations. Okay, that part he just lied. That conference had nothing to do with reparations.
So when you read further their literature, you know, this includes reparation, which includes free education, you know, the establishment of certain institutions and things of this nature. And then here comes Du Bois in the same conference, who expands on the idea.
Reparations was never on their mind. Stop it. Like, now he's just lying. See, that's why you can't trust Pan-Africanists. They'll tell a lot of the truth, and then they'll tell a lot of a lie.
Idea of Sylvester Williams or Henry Williams on including the notion of self-government or independence, or basically sovereignty of African people. And so,
no, not African people, sovereignty of Africans that are being colonized and they're not independent. Look at the words. He's not speaking to us. He's not speaking to us. He's speaking to people who are in position to run their countries. If I said self-govern, a self-government. So he's talking about all of the countries that were colonized. Okay, they were left the country to rule for themselves. Those folks had to seek out self-government, literally self-government, not the way we use it in a weird way. No, really, they had to really be their government. So he was not speaking to FBAs at all.
When it comes to the idea of reparations is already built in to the whole Pan-African movement, as far as going back to this 1900 conference, which is why the conversation of the research.
My Boma, many villages. He said there are 6 AME colleges: Payne Theological Seminary, Morris Brown College, Edward Waters University, Allen University, Paul Quinn College, and Wilberforce University. So African lives on in the U.S. Tape Street. Okay.
Research question is really, in my opinion, a silly one. And so we're talking about two different but related things. And so you're talking about, on one hand, the establishment.
Mom Boma. Next time, send a $2 super chat if you want me to read it. And if you think it's that important, there's nothing wrong with a $2 super chat. I'll read it. I'm not afraid to read some information that you think is important.
Or the retribution and payment to a specific group of people, a legal aspect over here in the United States. But then there's a broader, power dynamic which Pan-Africanism, seeks to address. So you have reparations, that is the result or what is sought after from an external entity who caused an injury to the group of people, to the marginalized Africans here in the United States. And then you have what is called self-reparations. And this is what Pan-Africanism is. It is self-reparations. And it exists whether the United States gives African Americans their.
And when they say African Americans, family, they're deliberately saying that. They are deliberately afraid to say they are Black. So, it's funny, like they'll say, hey, man, you guys are African. You guys are African. You're afraid to say African. Well, that's actually false. But you guys, why you're afraid to say you're Black? Why you always make it a concerted effort to say you're African American? Like, that just take too long. I'm Black. I'm Black. They're afraid. That's why I made that song there, which I'm gonna play later. They are afraid to say they're Black. Bruh, it's okay. Say it loud. You are Black and proud. And that's for FBAs only, by the way.
Not. We continue. Dr. Peter Olasanwuche Esadebi.
I told you he can't even pronounce the name. I tell you that all the books are written by Pan-Africanists. Like, all the books they recommend, none of them are written by just regular Black folks. They're all Pan-Africanists.
Identifies these core principles of Pan-Africanism. And he states that Africa, as he outlines them, one as Africa as the homeland of Africans and persons of African origin. Secondly, solidarity among African people. and people of African descent. 3, the belief in a distinct African personality. 4, the rehabilitation of Africa's past in terms, and that's more of the scholastic and setting the history right. And what I have highlighted here in red, which is very important, which we'll get to later on in our discussion, is pride in African culture. Then we go to Africa for the Africans in church and state, and not church meaning literal church in terms of Christianity, but in terms of the religious and spiritual outlook, as well as the political aspects, the political as represented by the state. And lastly, the hope for a united and glorious.
Lastly is family. Let's get the likes button up. Likes. I said, what did I say? What did I say? Let's get the likes up. Whatever I said, ignore that. Let's get the likes up, family. 102. Usually the night crew is on it. Like I never got to the night crew, like I do the morning crew. But right now I got to the night crew. Likes up. 175 likes for 25 off. Let's get the likes up.
Glorious future Africa, aka United States of Africa. And this is from the book Pan-Africanism, the Idea and Movement, 1776-1991, the second edition. And so lastly, we come into the actual definition, or let me just say a working definition, because there is no agreed upon.
I'm about to say, stop capping. You talk to any Pan-Africanist, they got a different definition of Pan-Africanism. That's why I always ask them when they come on as a guest on the panel, I like to ask them, what is your version of Pan-Africanism? I don't want to paint a version on them that they don't agree with, like they do us.
Final definition of Pan-Africanism, and that's because of its evolutions over the past 100 plus years.
Oh, so Pan-Africanism is allowed to evolve, but our blackness in America is not allowed to evolve. Like, come on, stop it. So you see that, family? Pan-Africanism is allowed to evolve, but our blackness can't, right? So we need to be stuck with Negro or colored or African American. We can't evolve. Our identification can't evolve. Like, bro, stop it. This is a nothing burger.
And the many contributions and things of this nature. So this is a working definition as given to us by Dr. Rebecca Raylan.
Hey, Jason, you said something very, very interesting. You said only time I've been on a boat is when I went fishing. I've never been to Africa and I have no plans to. I see Africans. Jason, that you might want to stick around for the I'm Black and I'm Proud song. It's an anthem. It's a motivational anthem song. Because what you said are some of the lyrics. All right. So you're gonna chuckle when you hear it.
Rebecca in the text, which he edited, the Routledge Handbook of Pan-Africanism, page 8. And so Pan-Africanism, according to our working definition, is a simultaneously intellectual, cultural, social, political, economic, and artistic project that calls for the unification and liberation of all people of African ancestry, both on the African continent and in the diaspora. And so when we're asking the question in terms of what strategies, or more specifically,
now look how ridiculous this sounds, family. They calls for unification and liberation. Well, let's deal with unification, right? Because you can't control liberation, but you can control unification. They're asking for 54 countries in Africa. That's 1 billion people. They're asking for 3,000 islands in the Caribbean and I guess the 50 states in America, all of us to be unified. These people can't even unify 2 blocks in Africa. They can't unify 2 islands in the Caribbean. And look at Haiti right now. See, so this is goofy language. Unification for a billion people. You dig? Stop it. It sounds crazy. How about starting with one tribe and the next tribe? How about the Igbos and Yorubas, Fulani? How about those Ashanti tribes? How about unifying just them? And we'll take you a little seriously. Unify some tribes, get 3 tribes together, no longer Igbo, no longer Yoruba and Ashanti. Now they're just one African tribe. African tribe East, African tribe West, African tribe South and North. How about do that before you want to unite a billion people? This is just ridiculous, man. It's so superficial, and it's Wakanda. This is feel good stuff. Unify 3,000 islands, 54 countries, and the United States. Think about that, family. Look how dumb that idea is. Like, really? Really? Come on.
One of our questions in terms of provide some examples, you would have to provide examples in each and or
1.5 billion.
one or more of these particular areas in terms of intellectual, cultural, social, political, economic, and artistic.
Right, Ty.
And so
Yeah. That's an interesting idea, Ty. Why is I think he's Foundation Black American. Why is a Foundation Black American calling for unification of Africa and Africans are not even calling for it? Yeah, you got Ibrahim Traoré who left the ECOWAS to form the Sahel Alliance. So you got Africa splitting up right now. I think ECOWAS was a 15 country member, and now they're 3 down. Burkina Faso left, Mali left, and somebody else, who knows, Guinea or somebody left. Now it's 3 over here and 12 left over there. Come on, man, they're dividing, bro. They're dividing. They're not multiplying over there.
Areas are more successful currently than others, and we'll get into that later.
Capitalism.
But this is the working definition that we will have on Pan-Africanism. And so I'm not sure how much time I have left.
Oh, you're up. You're up. You
Okay.
actually right on time. We started at 8:11 and we finished at 8:21. So you were right on time.
All right, so he's right on time, right? But he's wrong on time when he said family. He's arguing that because he said it. He said if you read up on that little thing they did in that conference, they had like reparations was built into the conversation, and those Pan-African conferences in the 1900s. Like, he's lying. Okay, so reparations have recently been discussed in Pan-African conferences, right? But the original conference he's speaking about with Henry Sylvester Williams was mostly about legal rights and opposing racial discrimination. That's it. And maybe some self-government stuff, but reparations wasn't a core demand in that conference at all. And matter of fact, they didn't start talking about that until they got in our business. Like, so maybe 1970s, 1990s, where they start to speak about reparations. But that conference, that was a nothing burger to tell us about that. All right. And so Pan-Africanism have like a broad umbrella, right? And reparations have not always been central to Pan-Africanism, right? What they normally talk about, a matter of fact, they didn't start speaking about reparations strongly really until CARICOM, what I just showed you in that panel, the 2013 Reparations Commission. And some activist circles in the United States, mostly, but the early Pan-Africans that he named, Du Bois, Blyden, and Garvey, they focus on sovereignty, education, and self-determination, not compensation from Western states. This dude is lying. So reparations is not automatically built in Pan-Africanist circles. It has been layered over time. All right. Over time, they start to, because it was a nothing burger. All this sovereignty, education, self-determination, that was a nothing burger. So they start to grift. So they are the first grifters. They start to grift towards something else. They kept trying to find, what can we say to motivate the masses? They tried so many different angles. All flopped.
Brother,
And in my section there too.
Yeah, but thank you for that. You know, it was a really good, like you said, just a really good overview of like what Pan-Africanism is. You said, well, that includes reparation. You were saying that it's, these different.
Yeah, but he lied though. It didn't. It never did. In that conference, they spoke nothing such as reparations. That was a lie. W. Du Bois, all those guys he mentioned, they didn't speak of reparations. That's all lies.
Different core, components or core elements of Pan-Africanism and
And we know she's just a glazer. She's just glazing. Stop it.
economics is one of them, and so you said it includes it. All right, and so brother Lord Abba or brother BTP Ali, you're up next. So again, which strategy is best, Pan-Africanism or good old American politics?
Let me applaud, brother. I gotta applaud the brother for giving a good presentation on Pan-Africanism and Pan-Africanist history. It doesn't address the question. It didn't address
At all. And you see, I pointed that out immediately. Mama Jan L, peace to you. Black Rose, Southern Breeze. Who else just popped up in here? Appreciate y'all. Really, really do. This is important live, by the way. You'll see it's gonna be very, very informational.
the question at all.
So you see, I like Naeem, Friedman representative. He didn't address the question at all. The question is, you see it, can reparations be achieved without Pan-Africanism? Okay, like he did a 20-minute presentation about Pan-Africanism. That could have been done in literally 5 minutes, but he didn't address the question at all, like Naeem, aka Laura Abba, just said.
American politics
Naeem
has always been the prime mover of things American. Legislation in the United States of America has never been moved by.
A Southern Breeze. I'm really convinced that these guys are motivated by money to go against our reparations claim because it's big. It's big.
Pan-Africanism. There, unfortunately, have been other groups like Zionism who have been able to get some legislation moved through AIPAC, et cetera, on behalf of Jews in Israel. But that's white supremacy's little brother, right? So I'm gonna let my brother Ali go in.
12 more, and, 14 more likes, family.
Before you come in, I want to say this is a political fight that's going on, and a lot of people do not understand. They think that we're banging on Africans and Pan-Africanism. The diaspora wars are going on Clubhouse right now because a bunch of the Africans, they're haters. Like, we just got to call it for what it is. We talk about this kumbaya, love and peace thing. We're one. Them people do not like us. And they're on Clubhouse. I was just listening to it about 20 minutes before I jumped on here. This is
Didn't Cameron say that? And listen, he's family. Don't mix in Africans with West Indians, Caribbean people. They're not the same. They're not the same. You can find some type of friendship with folks from the Caribbean. You'll find some writers from the Caribbean, even Haiti. You'll find some writers. Africa, family, it's not the same. And it's probably because those in the Caribbean, they went to the transatlantic slave trade. They were sold. So we have some type of connection with them as long as they stay on their code, which aligns up with our code. No issues at all. Like, they were sold too and enslaved and, treated very harshly by white people. But they were victims of being sold just like us. So that's why we it's easy for us to get on them as long as they're not on a coon train. But Africans, they sold us. There's that connection is just not there. So I agree with every word he just said. That's why, like, I'm cool right now with trying to befriend or align with Africans. I'm good.
The political fight between operatives of Narcan and Cobra, who is in bed with the Democratic Party, who have shills like Roland Martin and Dr. Craig Carr. And a lot of people don't understand what's going on with this thing. So I'm gonna let my brother Ali go in and address the question and some of Asa Imhotep's points.
Peace. Well, I think, let me just say this from the gate. I don't have a problem with Pan-Africanism. The working definition that you gave, any of the other definitions that other people give that have morphed over time, that, you know, in terms of all of the things that people of the diaspora are going through. So the meaning of the term Pan-Africanism obviously is going to have to change to conform to what it is that needs to be addressed in the diaspora. So I don't have a problem with that at all, just so we understand it. And I'm really glad that you said
Ricardo
that
Flop, Baby
there's no
Rodriguez, peace.
consensus on the actual meaning of the term. There's no
The big
one like
betrayer.
single thing that it means, right? So it has multiple meanings. And the reason I think that's important is because one of the things that we are continuously accused of is not understanding what Pan-Africanism is. But the definition that you gave, the working definition of it, is an excellent definition. To me, it explains it.
I didn't disconnect the phone. Somebody always call me while. Oh, hold on.
Succinctly. I don't see any other, you know, any other understanding that needs to be had about what it means, right? It's pretty clear. The unification of the people, intellectually, politically, socially, whatever other culturally, other kind of ways that there can be. Artistically, I get it, right? The unification of Black people across the diaspora, for whatever reasons they need to be unified. It's simple. So at the end of the day, the problem with that is there's never really been that kind of a unification. That's one of the things that we continue to point out to people. I want it to be, I would love for it to be, right? This is idealistic. I would love for the African Union to be something that has power. I would love for Pan-Africanism to be an actualized thing that can do something for us here in this country. I would love for that to be the case. Problem is that hasn't been the case. That's just the reality. And what I mean by that, in terms of securing reparations for the descendants of freedmen, Pan-Africanism has no effect there. Now, I'm not going to say that members of NARC, Queen Mother Moore, other people didn't have some kind of Afrocentric Pan-Africanist leanings, because if they did, they did. That was on them. That's their personal thing, and that's fine. The question is Pan-Africanism as the unification of Black people in the diaspora. Has that secure for the descendants of American freedmen the reparative justice that they've been seeking since Callie House and before? Has that been the case? And the obvious, honest answer is no, right? It hasn't secured anything for us, because the fact of the matter is the United States is a sovereign, independent nation, a sovereign power, a world superpower. No African nation can force it to do anything. I don't even think there's any African nations that's interested in forcing the United States to do anything. If they are, I've never read about it or heard about it. Especially for us. Nobody, this is a thing people got to understand. We're in this by ourselves, for the most part. Nobody's rocking with us like that. Excuse my French, nobody's fucking with us like that. We got to keep it 100. All of the fights that we've had, even though we've had other people that will rock out with us at certain instances, like, you know, I'm from New York City, so I've been to different marches, rallies, demonstrations, all that kind of stuff here, and I'll see different people, particularly Caribbean people. Oftentimes, people of the African continent stay away from our things. We got to be honest about that. They stay away from our stuff. And like the brother's saying, they're on Clubhouse going in on each other. The South Africans versus the Nigerians, etc. Right? So they're not unified there. If this thing is really about unification, if that's the main thing, whatever kind of unification you're talking about, intellectual, political, whatever, if unification is the core element of Pan-Africanism, then that's just an idea. And it's an ideal that I think is dope, but it's not real. So when it comes to American politics, when it came to the Civil War, the politics of Negro chattel slavery, American blacks fought in that war by themselves for their own liberation. I'm not saying it wasn't white people, but I'm saying in terms of other black people, Native Black Americans fought for their own liberation. Nobody helped us during the Civil War. Our people were emancipated into poverty, homelessness, and terrorism. Nobody from nowhere else came to help us do nothing. They didn't help us get through that. We got through it whatever way we could. Our grandparents and great-grandparents came through that whatever way they could. They, like how they say, made a way out of no way. That's our people. We make a way out of no way. And everybody else follows us. They follow us. And we lend support to people like we lend support to the South Africans when they were going through apartheid. Our people were very supportive. But I remember how the 80s looked.
Wait, before the 80s, family, do anybody remember the video I did sharing with you guys about the Robbins Airport? Do anybody remember the Robbins Airport? I did a video called the Robbins Airport. Do anybody remember that video? You can go check it out somewhere in my video archive. But let me just share some with you because you guys heard about us helping the Ethiopians fight the Italians, right? Check this out. This is why like no tether can do anything with me. Okay, let's listen. The Robbins Airport in Illinois. What's this? Let me move my my cash tag out the way. Hold on. I want to share something. And I don't even think the brothers know it either. Okay, so the Robbins Airport was the first airport owned and operated by African Americans, Foundation Black Americans in the United States, located in Robbins, Illinois, and was active from 1931 to 1933. This is why Africans and West Indians, be humble yourself, man. We had a whole airport, you dig? Okay, right after the Great Depression. Okay, so it was founded by Challenger Air Pilots Association. It served as a vital flight school and training ground for black pilots who were largely excluded from other aviation facilities during a period of racial discrimination. The airport was destroyed by a windstorm in 1933, leading to the flight school's relocation to Harlem Airport, Chicago, when it continued to train pilots for the Tuskegee Airmen program. Hold on. I want y'all to see what I'm looking for. Looking for it might be here. It might be in here. So these pilots were trained here, and these pilots have fought in on the side of the Ethiopians against the Italians. I'm gonna get that for you in a second. All right, so let me finish with the brothers cooking. Then I'm gonna get that for you.
With all of the musicians, I'm not going to play Sun City. I remember all of that stuff. But the South Africans have never done anything for us here. And one of the main reasons they haven't, because they can't. Nobody can force the United States. Remember, the United States is a world superpower. Can't nobody force the United States to do a damn thing. Nobody. So whatever gains we get here, and reparations is in fact a political issue, every reparation suit that came before any federal court was dismissed, not only for lack of standing, but for the simple fact or lack of standing or some kind of, they'll try to say like statute of limitations. There's no statute of limitations on it, but that's just BS talk.
I'm back. I'm back. Okay. All right, family. John C. Robbins, a co-founder of the Robbins Airport in Illinois, went to Ethiopia during the Second Italo-Ethiopian War 1935 to 1936 to command its air force against the invading Italian forces. The Roberts Airport did not provide direct material support to Ethiopia, but Robinson's actions were inspired by the same spirit of black aviation and empowerment that led to the creation of the airport. All right. So we went over there to help them fight. We use our airport to go and help the Ethiopians. So these folks, these tethers better never say we indirectly, bless you. These tethers can never say we never directly helped them. Okay, help them fight. Oh, you guys don't fight. You don't. Yeah, all right. Okay. So I wanted to share that with you. All right, let the brother finish cooking.
The fact of the matter is, reparations for Negro chattel slavery and Jim Crowism raises such a political question that the federal courts can't deal with it. That means that the executive and legislative branches of government have to deal with that issue because it's so comprehensive and so much to deal with. It would have to be done through an act of legislation. And legislation in this country and policy in this country is dictated by the civic activity and engagement of the citizens of this country, which we are. A lot of people of Afrocentric mentality feel like Native Black Americans aren't really citizens. If that's BS, we have just as much right and more so right to citizenship in this country than any other white immigrant who comes here and tells us to go back to Africa. Because you gotta understand something, most of the white people that tell us to go back to Africa of immigrant descent, Johnny-come-latelys, who don't have the history and lineage in this country that our people do. We foundational, like the brother Nasheed says, I agree with him 100%. We are foundational to this thing called the United States of America. We was here before it was established. We helped them establish it, fighting alongside the Patriots. We helped to save the Union and fought for our liberation during the Civil War and every other war since. This is our country just as much as anybody else's. When they said the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, they say all white men. It says all men. And understand something. There were debates surrounding that, whether they want to put white in there or not. All white men are created equal. They wanted to do it. Some of the southern states wanted to put that in the Declaration of Independence, but it got shot down in the debates in the Continental Congress. No, all men are created equal. And governments are instituted to protect the rights of men. That was the purpose of instituting governments. But they didn't do that for our people. So our people's plight has been freedom fighting the whole time. That's been our plight. And the fact of the matter is, whatever advancements that we got, 1866 Civil Rights Act, the Reconstruction Amendments, whatever the case is, the Civil Rights Acts of the 60s, whatever it is that we got that through our fights and our struggles here as citizens and taxpayers of the United States. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like it, but you live here. And everybody that says that they're Africans that live here, why are you still here? I don't have a problem with you calling yourself African, but don't try to put other people down, especially us, when we're trying to tell you that we're actually American citizens and we have just as much a right and more so to claim American citizenship than any white immigrant that comes here talking crap to us. Don't try to put us down because we rocking that American flag. That's our flag. And Pan-Africanism hasn't helped us. I'll stop there.
Beautiful. I mean, you were right on time. I mean, you are good because Lord Abba handed you the mic at 8:23 and it's 8:34. So you all are good.
I hope when it's my turn to speak, I don't be the one that talk over the time limit.
Oh, so I thought you were giving him the time. Oh no, you were passing the first question to him, right?
Yeah, I was just passing it. Let my boy go in.
Yeah,
my brothers are sharp, man.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Last one of them.
I can hear it. So he was basically, he was going in. He was going in, brother. So
Family, we're getting behind on the likes. 20 more likes. I know you guys are watching in the shadows, but 20 more likes. And I have no rebuttal to Brother Ali. My rebuttals are for the Pan-Africanists only because they love to lie.
him there, yeah. So we're going to move to the second question. So, all right. So Brother Saw says Pan-Africanism is the best strategy. And so now, okay, the second question is, well, how do you implement these strategies? So we're going to move into the second question. Brother Asar Imhotep, you have the floor.
Wait, before he go, let me just double down with the brother Ali said the Yankee hat on. Okay, so there have been documented cases in the U.S. We already know about the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, $20,000 to Japanese Americans individuals. Golden Brown, I guess you're trying to say that. Golden Brown, I don't know why you didn't think I know that. So to say I was a liar when I never said the Civil Liberties Act of 1988 never existed. I don't know where, again, some of you guys got to just take your medicine. All right. So Rosewood, Florida, 1994. Florida paid reparations to survivors of 1923 massacre, allegedly. Chicago Police Torture Reparations Ordinance 2015, financial plus educational reparations for victims of John Burr's torture. Black Farmers, Pig 4 versus Glickman, 1999, $1 billion plus dollar settlement from USDA discrimination. So reparations have been achieved, Asar, though not for what we're calling for, but not on a federal level, but the presidents prove reparations is legally possible without Pan-Africanism. So that's why I mentioned those. The Civil Liberties Act, no Pan-Africanism. Rosewood, Florida, 1994, no Pan-Africanism. Chicago Police Torture Reparations Ordinance, 2015, no Pan-Africanism. And Black Farmers, Pig 4 versus Glickman, 1999, no Pan-Africanism. So to answer the question, yes, we can get reparations without Pan-Africanism because that's already happened in this country. Okay. Uh, so they could move on.
Am I unmuted? All right. Yeah. Again.
Wait, because I remember Asar said something about self-reparations. Okay, let me see where he said. He said something about self-reparations. When he said that, I have no idea what that is. There's no such thing as self-reparations. I never heard of that. But he equates Pan-Africanism with self-reparations, and he said something about healing ourselves through culture, education, pride, etc. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, etc. Whatever. Okay, anyway, so what that did was he is shifting the definition of reparations away from its legal economic meaning, which is compensation by the injurer. So you got to watch this dude, Asar. Like he's gonna be shifty and changing definitions and words around semantics. Okay, so self-development, schools, culture, therapy is important, but it's not reparations. So he said that in the 1900 reparations conference. He said, "Yeah, man, reparations was in that conference. Okay, it was talking about schools, culture, therapy. That's not reparations, bro. Okay, reparations is the redress by the injuring party, the U.S. government, corporations, right? That's the injuring party. Pan-Africanism may help culturally, but it cannot substitute the legal demand for redress. So, Pan-Africanism can make us feel better, you dig, but it cannot act in a way where we're compensated. So by him conflating the two, is muddying what we're doing. And again, we don't know if it's true. I mean, we don't know if it's intentional or it's just they're just being goofballs. All right. So he said something about reparations is tied into Pan-Africanism, and she even repeated that. Oh wow, you said reparations is tied into Pan-Africanism, and he said it cannot exist outside of it. Family, they can say what they want to say. All right, because they got a mouth, they can talk. But the U.S. government has already, as I stated before, has already issued reparations to non-Pan-Africanist groups, the Japanese Americans, the Aleutians, Native tribes, etc. So even black reparations lawsuits, the pigment farmers, Rosewood, were fought strictly within American politics and law, which what the brother Ali just talked about, not Pan-Africanist frameworks. So the evidence show reparations is achievable through domestic American politics alone, which is what Brother Ali was referring to. So Pan-Africanism may inspire solidarity, you dig, this whole unification bullshit, but it is not the prerequisite. In fact, most successful reparation cases were won through local and federal courts and legislators, not through Pan-African conferences. Pan-African conferences are nothing burgers. People just talk all day long there, and it's a feel-good thing. Yeah, they leave. First of all, they're never like meaningful. Nothing gets done. Nothing is achieved. There's no proof of concept. Nothing.
And reparations is built into the Pan-African movement. And so to act, that's why I cited what I cited, to act like it was like there's a dichotomy is strange. And so like we got to understand when we're talking about reparations, you're talking about the repairing of a people. But what is the nature, the full scope of the injury? Is it just simply that we were slaved or enslaved and we should get some monetary back? But what happened in that process? What about the psychological issues? What about the health issues and a whole bunch of other things? You have to address that. And so this is why I stated yes and no when it came to the question, because you have a part of reparations that can be resolved as a result of the United States giving us what is due, you know, for the injury that they caused, you know, our people. But then you also have self-reparations. So it's just like if a woman was in a abusive relationship, right? If she would get reparations in part one by dude going to jail, getting his ass beat by the family, you know, paying her, you know, for you know, any kind of medical injuries, and of course apologizing and doing the like. Hello?
We're here. Keep
Oh,
going,
okay.
brother. So we hear you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought I dropped out for some reason.
Bro.
No,
All
no,
right.
you're good.
So these,
Bro, you didn't drop off. This ain't the Pan-Africanist conference. You're not gonna get a standing ovation, bro. Just keep going.
are ways in which, you know, help the repair process of the woman who has been abused. But that abuse did something to her. It wasn't just simply the physical injuries. It's not just the medical bills that accumulate that can be paid with money, so she doesn't, you know, have to deal with that extra unintended cost of being in a relationship with old dude. There's a psychological aspect of this that has to be repaired, which he can't do. She's going to have to do the work to go through therapy, to do whatever rituals and exercises are prescribed in that process to restore her sense of wholeness and health. She's going to have to do certain things in terms of her diet, in terms of exercise, in terms of meditation, in terms of, you know, whatever her religious background is, tapping into that to make herself whole. And so there's always a self-reparative part. Now, whether the man apologizes, pays for her medical bills, go to jail, gets beat up by the family or whatnot, regardless if any of that happens, she still has to do the work in order to repair. And this is
these anecdotal hypothetical stories that he's trying to equate to reparations to a whole lineage. It just ain't the same, man. But go on. It just ain't the same.
Is where using this as a metaphor, where Pan-Africanism comes in. It's a self-reparative strategy. And so that's why when I named those areas, that's why it was important to read them off. And let me just go back on my screen real quick. In terms of the definition, talking about intellectual, cultural, social, political, economic, and artistic. And so all of these different things have to be addressed. And some of those things cannot be addressed by reparations from the United States. You're still going to have to do with your own intellectual development and capacity, but that can be enhanced, for example, like what was requested at the first Pan-African conference in terms of free education for those of us descended from the descendants of Africans in the United States. That will enhance and help to play the favor. But regardless if they give us free education or not, we're still responsible for our own intellectual development. So part of the strategies is part of that focus of Pan-Africanism is to develop our own schools, to develop our own curricula. In this day and age, we can develop online schools, to develop our own printing houses and to publish our own text, to learn as much as we can and bring it back to our people in digestible forms. That happens with or without Europeans giving us reparations here in the United States, which we've been doing. The cultural aspect. There's a reason why I changed my name on my screen to Ifa Muyiwa Fagbimi. That's my Yoruba initiation name.
Family, they all did that. All these Hotep Egyptian maniacs, they're trying to change their name to an African name now. All of them are doing this because the Egyptian, the Hotep hustle, it flopped. You know, it flopped. It didn't move us. We didn't fall for it. And now they're moving to an African name. So, but they call us grifters. These are the grifters.
It is a tapping back into our ancestral culture.
Nah, it's called grifting.
Back to the religion of our ancestors and bringing it forward and modern and adjusting it for what we need here in the West. Imhotep is my other initiation name as well, but I wanted to do that one specifically.
Grifting name.
So when it comes to the social aspect of this, the political is already built in. So if you're here in the United States, the question of achieving certain ends by way of politics, that's already built in to Pan-Africanism. So that's why I'm saying this conversation is not.
That's a lie. It's not built into Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is about self-determination, self-righteousness, self-whatever, self, do for self, pull your bootstraps up. That's what it's about. They normally look at reparations as a handout. Okay, because remember, they don't want stuff from the wicked government. They're going to self-government themselves.
The initial question is not a serious question based upon knowledge of what Pan-Africanism is. And so when we're talking about the economic and artistic, all of this stuff has nothing to do with the United States, paying us for the end.
The man, Bernice Brad said, all these African names, but still in America. Right. They are crazy.
Injury in whatever economic and artistic. All of this stuff has nothing to do with the United States, paying us for the injury in whatever form the paying is of the injury in which they caused. We have to do our own self-reparations, regardless.
What the hell is that? Self-reparations.
Of what is going on in this particular arena. So you have two aspects of this process. And so what is very limiting in this conscious community is that for some reason we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. We can't have a group of people over here working on reparations, and then a group of people over here working on Pan-Africanism, and a group of people over here working on trade and economics, and a group of people over here working on education and curriculum, and a group of people over here working on medicine and all this other kind of stuff. It got to be one thing, one strategy, and one group got to be to do it, all the time. And this is just behooves me of this particular of movement or lack of movement in the conscious community, and why education is so important.
Family, these guys are, as you've seen, they're 100% sold on Pan-Africanism, and that's it. You dig? If you think you can convince these people to do right, it ain't happening. Like, they are sold out to the African agenda, which is a nothing burger for us. Is make sure those foundation Black Americans get nothing. Make them rely on us or think that we can help them, and just stagnate their process, their progress, because all they're gonna do is eventually come after Mother Africa for redress. We got to hold Mother Africa to her sins. She sold us, and at some point she got to come out that purse. What, she got a Birkin purse? Whatever she got, bring that purse out and cut the check. Mother Africa. Pay child support.
You can walk and chew gum at the very same time. Not everybody is going to be on board. And if we are at war, there's going to be casualties anyway. So it is what it is. And so if your focus is reparations from the United States, let that be your fight. But if you have a group of people over here looking at a bigger long-term strategy, and they're saying that, you know what, we are weaker when we are divided in terms of the diaspora. We need to connect our resources, develop a particular type of uniting culture and signifying languages and things of this nature. And I have slides for that, but I'll digress for that unless we need it later, because that was the whole focus of Cheikh Anta Diop's economic and cultural basis. Black Africa, an economic and cultural basis for a federated state, in the blueprint for Black power, and the destruction of civilizations. All these with the plans in them. So the brother held up the book. In the back of the, starting on page 88, you have the 14 is actually 15 steps, of African unity. It gives out a plan and steps and stuff that needs to be achieved. That's all I have to cite in terms of.
My man said with proper economics, we can create our own educational systems. Yeah, the proper economics are going to come from reparation money. All right. Without that, there's no proper economics, bro. Like, we are down bad because of systemic racism kept burning down our affluent cities, building highways through them, eminent domain, sabotaging, terrorizing, undermining, creating laws against us. So doing that for 200 years and plus enslaving us. Yeah, we're not going to have the economics, right? That's a no-brainer. Taking our money, looting, burning us down, burning our towns down, then ain't like they burnt the money up. They're taking the money and using it for themselves, like the Freedmen banks. That money didn't go in smoke somewhere. That went in somebody's pocket to help fund their future endeavors.
What are the strategies? The strategies are already designed. It's in the books. The destruction of Black civilization, blueprint for Black power, Black Africa, an economic and cultural basis for a federated
bunch
state.
Of books.
And
so those books in the 1990s is going to help us in 2025. Like, come on, like, let's be realistic, man.
So these things are being achieved. The political, the larger state aspect, that's taken a little longer, but there's a reason for that. And we understand that, being historians of history and how young these African states are and just how many people are in Africa. People think Africa is like the size of Jamaica or something that you could just get a whole bunch of people together and they all be united. No.
Right. That's why your unification dream for Africa is a nothing burger. You just kind of agree with me, bro. Right. It's not the size of Jamaica. That's why that's a dumb goal to unite. Dude, just get qualified individuals. Like I said, start with uniting small tribes. Why do everybody want to go for the home run? Umar Johnson, a St. Paul's school, college, university. So we can't just do a library or we can't do somebody's kitchen. It just gotta be. We can't rent a conference room. It always gotta be the home run. Marcus Garvey steamships. It just can't be something small, bro. And it builds its way up to the steamships. Yo, that's what grassroots mean, family. Grassroots mean literally starting from the bottom and then watching that baby grow into a huge, humongous tree with hella branches that produce plenty of fruit. They want to skip the line and get right to it. That's called steroids. That's called cheating. That's called, it's like I said, steroids. It's cheating. Nobody want to work hard. They say that, but they don't want to work hard to get where they got to go. Family, there's a reason why it took so many hundreds of years to get freed from physical slavery because it was a grassroots movement. It took hard work. How about achieving the civil rights era, right? The acts that took 100 years. So hard work takes a long while to pay off, man. That's why it's called hard work. It's not easy work. Easy work can pay off very quickly. So reparations is no different. This is a hard work, action. So it's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. So when everybody try to make us be perfect, oh, where's this? Where's that? Yeah, we just started, bro. It's been like 4 or 5 years. Not 50, not 80, like Pan-Africanism had 200 years to get right. And it flopped. We're 4, 5, 6 years, and they expect us to have all the solutions and all our ducks in order. Like, stop. Like, we know what we're doing. We know it's going to be a long journey. And guess what? We're up to it.
The United States itself can fit into the Sahara itself. This is how big this place is. So it's going to take a little time. And which is why it's interesting that,
beats in the
one should not look into Pan-Africanism because its highest ideals have not been achieved yet. But we're supposed to lean.
Right. Donnie said, you asked this dude, and he's Pan-Africanist. That's why you don't call him my show. I guess I invite this guy. I invite him. I invite Dr. Mayat. Like Donnie said, you ask them one question, they go crazy. They out of control. So they talk all that self-determination, self-resilience, arm yourself, but they have no self-control. That's the one self thing they don't teach. They teach self-resilience, support yourself, you dig self-book writing, self-publishing. They teach self everything except for self-control.
Towards reparations, which hasn't been achieved by any means at all here in the United States. These are both organic and living movements that are realizing their goals daily. And some goals take longer than others. And so just because something hasn't been achieved yet over here doesn't mean there hasn't been progress there. Just because reparations hasn't been achieved here in the United States doesn't mean that there hasn't been progress.
Yeah, no, there's definitely been progress, but it's been without Pan-Africanism. Listen, where's the progress in Umar schools? You dig? Like let's start right there. Umar had the schools. He's Papa. He's the Prince of Pan-Africanism. All right. What happened to his schools? Where's the progress of the schools? 10, 12 years in. And now he got to just drop the plan altogether.
And so we have to recognize that in the times we're in and just be realistic about the conversation we're having. And I'll stop there.
All right, brother. So thank you so much for that. So I'm getting ready to pass the mic to either BTP Ali or my good brother, Lord Abba. You know, what is the best, not what is the best strategy? What was the second question? I'm sorry.
All right. So before you go in with Lord Abba, BTB Ali, let me say this for y'all. And I hope this video can be a reference point for people. Reparations in the United States of America, it is a domestic legal fight. It's not an abstract global ideology. All right. So again, Japanese Americans, they didn't need Pan-Asianism. Family, think about that. Japanese Americans, they didn't need Pan-Asianism to win their redress. Neither did the Holocaust survivors. They didn't need Pan-Europeanism. Okay. They appealed directly to the governments responsible. Okay, the fact that Assar needs to cite conferences from the 1900s, really, that shows Pan-Africanism hasn't delivered tangible reparations in over a century. He said the 1900s. That is a theory, not a payment. Pan-Africanism may include reparations, he said, as an ideal, but it has never once cut a check. Pan-African, no, nothing burgers. So actual president of the United States courts and legislators prove reparations can and have been achieved without Pan-Africanism. He talked about the conference, right? He said W. Du Bois, Williams, and all those guys were talking a good game in there. They just like how these guys do, and with their book clubs, they talk a good game in those book club studies, the study halls. But the fact that same conference you're speaking about, that was a conference call where the elite is it elitism. It was come on, let's be real. It was W. Du Bois on these clowns. It was an elitism conference. It's an ego thing, right? Ego talking shop with no enforcement power. Okay, it did. What did they do? Did it end colonialism? No. Did they have armed resistance and international politics? No. So citing W. Du Bois and Williams, it doesn't prove that Pan-Africanism actually works. It doesn't. All it does is it shows it's been aspirational for over 120 years without enforcement. It's a nothing. We call that a nothing burger in our spaces. So the US government does not answer to African conferences, bruh. It answers to its own courts, citizens, and political blocs. That's where FBA and ADOS lineage claims matter. In USA courts, citizens, and political blocs, it doesn't, our claims don't matter at a 1900 year 1900 Pan-African conference in London. Our voice will not be heard in London. Okay, so he talked about self-repair, whatever that is, self-reparations. Okay, self-repair and reparations, those things are not equivalent at all. Okay, so he talked about therapy, cultural pride, and building schools are valuable, right? But family, that's community development. That's not reparations. Self-reparations, right? He said that. He said, what self-reparations do, family, again, this is agent talk. Because that lets the guilty party, our government, off the hook. They're like, all right, you got it. Go ahead, keep self-repairing. Let me keep this check over here. So it shifts the burden back onto us instead of the government. We ain't doing no self-reparations. You dig? No, sir. No, sir. That's like DIY, right? Come on, man. Do it yourself. Uh, What else? So anyway, family, we know about reparations, and reparations it's going to come from our government. It ain't going to come from us. That ain't happening. So building schools in Africa or changing your name from Sorry Motep to Ifa Mumu, okay, that's not going to close the racial wealth gap, buddy. Okay, that's deflection. That's egoism. So he said hey, can't we walk and chew gum? Can't we fight for reparations on this side and over this side? Can we go ahead and do our Pan-Africanist thing? Sure you can. Go do it. Okay, but it's gonna be a nothing burger. Pan-Africanism has competed with U.S. lineage-based reparations. All right, and what they do is they compete with us, family, because they are what I said earlier. They are diluting our claim into it all black people globally to a race-based reparation claim. So walking and chewing gum, I mean, that sounds good. They're good at speeches. You know, they're good at conferences, right? But in politics, right, and politic resources, it's going to take lobbying and messaging are finite. So dilution weakens our specific claim. When you say, "Hey, it's race based or global," or all these folks, what we doing got to be specific. Okay, when the U.S. government sees CARICOM and Pan-Africanists linking everything together, it becomes easier for them to say, this is too broad, too global, too undefined, case dismissed, case dismissed. It's too much going on. We ain't about to read through all this. Get to the point, land your plane is what the government's going to say. So reparations succeeds when it's specific, legally precise, and lineage based. Anything he says is a nothing burger. And then he's going to say, no, I think that's all I wrote down. Yeah, that's it.
How do you implement the strategy? All right. So you're saying we need to exercise good old American politics. So what's the strategy behind that, King?
I got so much. I really want my brother Ali to go in, but I want to do this real quick. Can you pull my screen up, sis?
I sure can.
Because Brother Asa Imhotep said reparations hasn't been achieved. You know, you got to be specific. You got to be specific. But reparations has actually been achieved. And this is the historical timeline of reparations payments made from 1783 through 2021 by the United States government, states, cities, religious institutions,
Yeah, he about to get
universities, corporations, and communities. And it gives you the starting point, you know, today. And then if you scroll, you're going to get through all of these different people who have received reparations, right? From the federal government. At the state level, you have Black Americans who have actually received reparations. Now, there was an act called I brought this up last week, the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, which paid the paid the Japanese Americans
and the Aleutians,
and
the people of the islands.
Right. People forget about them. Paid them for the internment during World War II, etc. Now, so reparations can be done. It's just that we have an issue. And when we close out, I'm going to speak to that. But the three areas that we call ARC is basically it's basically how we get to the implementation process. Acknowledgement, redress, and closure, right? So the first thing is that we get the United States of America to acknowledge the fact that we went through slavery, we then suffered horrifically through Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, and all of the offspring, the progeny of the slave institutions, right? We're reading this book right here. I told you all to get it. This is one of the ways that we are putting a strategy together by asking at least 22% of our people to move from the north back down to the south so that we could have numerical majorities in these southern states. With this, we would have control of at least 12 Senate seats. This plan is, in fact, a doable plan, as many people are moving from the north back south anyway. I'm from the north, New York, and I live in the south right now. And I don't say that anecdotally. I say that because it's just a fact. It is the reason why Georgia flipped the blue. But I'll save that for the proof of works in the last question. You know, we have a plan. We have a plan, and we basically just laid it out. I'm trying to, you know, stay within the time constraints, but how do you implement it? We implement it by becoming politically active. It's the one thing that we are not collectively as a people. We're not politically active. We have a lot of different people saying a whole lot of different stuff, and 9.9 times out of 10, they're wrong about it because they don't know how to do politics. They're scared of it. They're afraid of it. It becomes, after a while, an albatross that they feel that they cannot lug across them, across the highway of liberation. And you know, our leg muscles is built for it, because I want you all to think about it. Me and my brother Ali, we come out of not just the Moorish school of thought. We studied Nuwapu, the Ansars under Dr. York. We studied the teachings of the Nation of Islam, 5%, and yet we have arrived to a point of reason. We are at a point of reason right now that everything that we have is merely knowledge. Implementation of it is weird. There's no such thing. No, let me not say there's no such thing as self-reparations. I want to read something real quick. And
yeah, that's just such thing. Okay, right. So you see, he was going to say what I was going to say. Like I said, he represents the freedmen. So a lot of times, family, we only hear ourselves talk, who represents FBA, and sometimes we'll hear ADOS represent themselves over here. And sometimes I represent FBA and ADOS on many talking points. But now we're listening to somebody who represents the freedman angle, right? And you see, they don't sound too much different from us. But he was going to say what I just said: self-reparations. What the hell is that? That's a nothing burger, and you don't want to talk like that. You don't want to talk about self-reparations when you are looking for what's owed to you. You dig? That's like saying you're self-employed while you're looking to be employed by somebody who's looking for somebody who's not employed. You feel me? It's like, okay, you probably won't get that job if you tell them you're self-employed. All right. He ain't gonna take you serious because you're gonna choose your self-employment over that job, and you're probably getting that job only to finance your self-employment. So that's so no, that whole self-reparations rhetoric, that's agent talk. Really, that's informant, agent, sabotage talk.
I'm a pass it to my brother Ali so he can finish it off. This is from my brother Logic, BTP Logic. He says, nobody is saying that we don't have individual work to put into our healing. However, that does not in any way take away the responsibility that the victimizer has in repairing the damage that they cause to the utmost of their ability. After a doctor operates on you, you still have to do your own exercising and physical therapy, but that doesn't mean the doctor should not operate. The United States of America owes us. And I don't want to say there's no such thing as self-reparations, because that there is. But in the context of government, there's no such thing as self-reparations. The Japanese Americans and the whole list of people that I just pulled up disproves that. I'm gonna pass it to my brother Ali.
Peace. All right. So what? Let me do this. I want to share my screen real quick because I want people to see the definition of the word reparation. Right? Brother Esau mentioned it. We talk about it, but I want people to see it for themselves. Let me know if you can see this.
It's up.
It's up. All right. So look, the word reparation, according to Google, and Google uses Oxford as its source, so don't think this is just some BS definition. Reparation, the making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. And they give an example, and this example is important. The courts required a convicted offender to make financial reparation to his victim. Similar words or synonyms are amends, restitution, redress, compensation, recompense. When we're talking about reparations for the descendants of the people who were forced to bear the burdens of Negro chattel slavery in this country. When we're talking about reparations for the people who were emancipated into poverty and homelessness and terrorism, and those who had to face Jim Crowism in all the forms that it came in, racial oppression, public subjugation, housing discrimination, gerrymandering, redlining, racial gerrymandering, those who were forced to deal with all of those things. When we're talking about that and what it has done, specifically, we're talking in this instance about the economic gap that it has caused and the economic damage. So in essence, what we're looking for from the United States government is economic justice to repair the economic damage that they've caused, right? And to do that is going to take civic engagement. It's going to take engagement from us as citizens of the United States, not us as members of the African diaspora, but us as citizens and members of this thing called the United States of America, right? It's a part of the constitutional guarantee that the citizens of the United States have the right to petition the government that they pay taxes to for redress of their specific grievances. And I think that what a lot of people need to really pay attention to is the way Professor Darity has laid this thing out from the economic perspective. The United States, I would never look to for any kind of psychological therapy or any of that kind of stuff that needs to be done with our people as a group to try to overcome a lot of the damage that was done mentally, psychologically, spiritually, and everything else. The United States is not a church. The United States is not, a psychoanalyst, right? So I'm not looking to them for that. So we're looking to the United States to repair the economic damage and to afford us the economic justice that is due to us and has been due to us since emancipation. That's what we're talking about. Dealing with the definition of reparation in terms of recompense, compensation, to right that particular wrong, which they, as this particular body politic, had been charged with doing, which is to protect the rights of all men. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. So that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about our rights that were violated and the damage that was caused that we can measure, right? And something that they can address, which is the economic damage. So for the Pan-Africanists who are looking for spiritual therapy, who are looking for psychotherapy, who are looking for religious therapy, those are things you're going to have to get outside of the reparations movement.
Right. That's what I said. Like, these are feel good. I'm a Pan-Africanist and I'm proud. I'll say it loud type shit. That's what that is. It's a nothing burger. And yeah, I mean, for some people, I ain't gonna say a complete nothing burger. For some people, they need to feel good, right? They need to wake up and feel good. And maybe, chanting, I'm a proud Pan-African, maybe that's their self-medication, right? Maybe they were undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, or not diagnosed at all. And before they self-medicate in the streets, they'd rather just be a Pan-Africanist. So I get that. It becomes like a self-medication type of thing, but it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right, And at some point, it's not gonna hold you much longer, and you're gonna be in that street narcotic unless you get to acknowledging that you're FBA and you got work to do.
For justice in the United States, which is really a political and economic one. We're looking for policy prescriptions. We're looking for legislation that's going to deal with this economic wealth gap where 90-something% of the wealth in this country has been consolidated with white people, where black people possess somewhere around 3%, maybe a little bit more of the nation's wealth, even though we're 14% of the population. So that kind of disparity is the thing that this country needs to address, and it's something that they can address. They can't address all of the self-repair things that you're talking about. Self-repair is self-repair. So I don't know why it would be a part of a reparation.
Hey, Jason, is that thing that Biden did with the African nations where he gave them like $1 billion Let me know, Jason, if that's what you're talking about. When you say AFRICOM, was that the thing where Biden gave those, he did a conference with those, it's always a conference, Pan-Africanism love conferences. So Biden did a conference with them, I think in America, and gave them a Billy. Is that what you're talking about, Jason? Let me know.
Claim for justice with the United States if it's something that you are supposed to be doing yourself. I don't understand why it's getting mixed like that, right? And it's being used as it's being almost weaponized in a certain way that you guys are idiots and you're uneducated in the ways of self-repair.
And for anybody's interested in FBA apparel, Moon Duck Maximus got a link right there. If you want to support FBA apparel, click that link that Moon Duck Maximus has right there for you, and take a look at some of his products.
Religious repair and spiritual repair, that if that's something that you're supposed to do on your own time, fine, you do that. But don't act like that's a part of an economic, political agenda for citizens in this country who are dealing with a wealth disparity. That's what we're talking about dealing with. That's what we're talking about dealing with. So I'll leave it right there.
Was that the time? I would definitely want to make one more closing.
Go ahead, make a closing mark, because I was waiting for you all to say, what's the strategy? Because we said, how do you implement the strategy? So okay, so we said good old American politics. What should we do? And I know, Lord Abba, you talked about Black people going to different southern states and voting. So get into the strategy. How do we implement? You said we need to utilize American politics to achieve reparations. Okay, so what's the strategy that we need to implement?
All right.
Did I miss it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Let me say, right, in a capitalist society, actual capital is the most important aspect of the society. The monetary component of reparations is an utmost necessity. Self-repair can actually be achieved with monetary compensation. Our people, for instance, can't afford to just go get therapy sessions because we are a wealthless group in the United States of America. The concerns of psychological damage and other effects of the historical atrocities that our people have suffered, that we basically have inherited and gonna pass down to our progeny, it can be accessible if we have the capital to address it. That's what we're fighting for. When it comes to economic exclusion and being locked out of capital in this country, that should be a no-brainer. That actual capital is paramount to the beginning of repairing the damage that both government and private institutions in the United States of America not only sanctioned, but caused. So I just wanted to say that. I get Brother Asar Imhotep can get into the strategy part of it. It seemed like we kind of blended the two in our last responses, but we'll go in a little bit more. I'll touch on some things.
All right, brother Lord Abba. Okay, so Brother Asar Imhotep, did you want to further, discuss this second question? How do you implement, I guess, the Pan-Africanism strategy, or do you want to move to the next question? You want to further expound on it, Brother Asar? I think.
I'm sorry.
Okay, there you go.
Is my mic? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to expand on that.
Okay.
Because I wanted to address something specifically that Brother Abba said, and so let me know. I'm sharing my screen, so I guess you gotta.
It looks good. It is one of my favorite books that you have on the screen, actually.
So you already know who I'm coming with. This is Dr. A.
You got a lot of famous books out there. Okay, so right now he's about to. Okay, let's see how he represents Dr. Amos Wilson. Now, listen, family, a lot of times our scholars, they write books for their time. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote a book for his time. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not experience integration. All of his life, he only experienced segregation. So when he wrote books, it was from a segregation perspective. So when Dr. Amos Wilson, our late great Dr. Amos Wilson, wrote his book, it was for his time, I think the 90s. Family, we're in 2025. And guess what? Whatever books are written now, we can't reference those to solve a problem in 2045. So this is really where he's going, is really appealing to authority.
Yeah.
And people reference Malcolm X, another guy who he didn't experience integration. Malcolm X's entire life was segregation, and Dr. King really didn't experience integration either. So like we gotta just understand the context. You hear her head. Look at her. She's supposed to be a goddamn host, moderator. She's like, yeah, I know where you going, buddy. Like cheerleading. Look.
Sharing my screen, and
look at the host.
So let me know. I'm sharing my screen, so I guess you gotta.
It looks good. It is one of my favorite books that you have on the screen, actually.
so you already know who I'm coming with. This is Dr. Amos.
Yeah.
Falsification of African Consciousness, Eurocentric History, Psychiatry, and the Politics of White Supremacy. So this is something that we keep forgetting. So remember, when we're talking about Pan-Africanism, the cultural aspect and the social aspect are two components of the definition. So on page 44 of Wilson's work, he says something that is critical to this conversation, which a lot of people seem to miss. He states, starting, we're suffering from the absence of an economic system.
Peace.
Money is not a system. Money is what it is. A system involves the systematic and organized utilization of money, a systematized utilization and distribution of money. Without the pattern, without the system, without the organization, one does not have an economy. An economy exists prior to money. There were economies in the world before money.
Hold on. Before you keep reading, let me read Abby Do. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that he feared that he led his people into a burning house. Paraphrasing, he did say that. Higher Height said that Dr. Mayat chick is not right. She's been exposed a few times on these YouTube streets. Just saying, yeah, it's because she won't have an allegiance towards truth. Like she panders to people too much, human beings. And look, family, at her age where she's at now, that's just who she is. You feel me? Under 30, my thing is under 33, they're salvageable. We can save them, right? With the right counseling. But once you're past 35 years old and you're committed to shit like this, there's nothing we can do with you. I mean, like you can save yourself. You could have your wake up call one day, but there's nothing we can do for you. You got to save yourself. 'Cause a lot of us turn to leave later in our life, and so it can happen, but there's nobody who can do it for us. Like you have to be a willing participant of correct information, like channels like this.
Money was invented. We don't even have to have money to have an economized system. So ultimately, when we study an economic system, we recognize that an economic system at its base.
See, but that's not fair because books are timestamped. Books are dated. So to use a 1990 book for 2025, I mean, like that's just not fair. Like the gap, like Sandy Darity said to Dr. Mayat when she interviewed him, he said, "Listen, America should pay right away because the longer they take, the gap keep widening. So it's more and more money." So when Dr. Amos wrote that book, the gap was a certain width. It's way wider now. So whatever he said at that time may be true, maybe not. But the gap is more wider now. It's more money. So what may be true in 1990 doesn't mean it's true in 2025. So that's why I said books are dated. We need a 2025 study. I'm not even sure if HR 40 was around with Dr. Amos Wilson. I'm not sure. But I do know there was no such thing as ADOS and FBA at that time, So listen, things evolve, things get better as technology grows, and information becomes more widespread. So we unfortunately, not no, fortunately, today we know a lot more than Dr. Amos Wilson. Like he only could do what he could do at his time and the resources he had. The average American has access to the resources. Dr. Amos Wilson's a scholar. So what he had access to at that time of the book, the average folk didn't have. Now the average folk has access to what all of our scholars had back in the day. Like all of us are pretty much scholars with AI. You dig? Like if we debated our scholars from back in the day, we'll cook them with AI. So we are more brighter today because of the resources and tools that's available to us. Like we got to just acknowledge that.
Refers to the nature of what? The relationship between people. It's the systematic way.
Oh, good point, Cashmere Wealth. Right. I keep forgetting to consider that. Like there wasn't a tether issue at that time. Black African immigrants and Caribbean people had influxed the United States around 1990s, right? Not all of them are bad. A lot of them are good. So don't misquote what I'm saying. Don't misrepresent what I'm saying. But out of the good came some bad, and the bad we call tethers. Okay, so Dr. Amos Wilson never experienced a tether. Neither did Drs. Francis Cress Welsing and a lot of our scholars that passed. Dr. Khalid Muhammad have never experienced a tether, unless Dominic Carter's a tether. So we got to look up Dominic Carter background because then we'll know he experienced a tether. But most of our greats never experienced a tether before. So what Kashmir said was important. So these books are written, and our focus is on the obvious opposition. Even Dr. Claude Anderson, his Paradigmic books, like he focused on immigration coming from the Latino population. Like he didn't even consider that African immigrants will be worse than Latinos could ever be because they can infiltrate and cosplay and represent us. You feel me? So yeah, books are dated, man. Crystal Forrester, do you think we can get some lawyer to help? Oh yeah, no, we on the right path, and if we don't have it now, maybe it's not meant to be right now. But we have kids, we got grandkids, we got cousins, nephews, young. They're gonna get it. The same thing with enslavement, freedom from enslavement. People ain't see it. It was their children, their grandchildren who were emancipated. You feel me? Paul Cuff, he passed in like 1860. He didn't see, he wasn't emancipated. He passed. But guess what? 50 years later, his son, 50 years later, his son, but definitely grandson, was emancipated. And then Frederick Douglass, he never seen true civil rights. Because Frederick Douglass grew up in, he was raised during like legal segregation. You feel me? So some of us fought for things and we didn't see it. Dr. King fought for certain things, he didn't see it. He said he knew he wouldn't see it. So just because we won't see it doesn't mean it's not going to come to fruition. We may see it. We hope to see it for sure. That's why we fight so hard. We hope to see it in our lifetime, but there's a great chance we never see it, but we don't stop fighting. We fight so that it can be seen, whether by our eyes or somebody else's eyes, but we fight so it can be seen. That's what makes us fighters. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for people in our descendants. Let me just say that word. We're fighting for our descendants.
People choose to relate one to another that makes an economic system, not money. We lack a systematic way of relating to each other. Then we have, when we lack a systematic way of relating to each other, then we can have money and still be poor, have money and be robbed, which we are. Pan-Africanism addresses this aspect of economics. The unification is part of the relating process, which is why this individual and person is so important to this conversation. And the book that I mentioned, everyone knows Cheikh Anta Diop for doing work on Egyptology and in linguistics and stuff to this nature. The reason why he was doing that was so that he could convince the people on the ground that they have a common heritage, so that they have a cultural basis for a political state. And so this is something that is given, for example, the late Jordan Ngubane of South Africa in his text, Conflicts of Minds. He states on page 90, simultaneous validity was given added significance when I traveled in West Africa. Remember, he's a Zulu from South Africa. In 1958 in the United States in 1969. I discovered that the West Africans saw reality from perspectives I had in my ignorance regarded as peculiar to the Bantu teaching in my part of the continent. I was pleasantly surprised to discover that the common factor in Southern and Western African experiences was our evaluation of the person, which gave identical rhythms to our different cultural experiences. I'll stop sharing now. The important part of this aspect of the discussion is that the people on the ground don't know the commonalities that they have with people across the continent because they don't travel. And that's one of the things that Sheikh Anta Diop was talking about in Black Africa, is that there's no inter-African tourism. If the Africans understood their relationship to history and their commonalities in language and culture.
That's not going to happen because they can't even admit they sold us to Europeans. So they're never going to understand their history.
They have a basis to do economics with each other, because the relationships are what establishes an economy. It's not the money. That is what allows for us to exchange the goods and services that we have, but it's ultimately on the relationships. So when African scholars are studying, saying like, hey, wait a minute, these guys are similar to these guys over here, and this, and this is where the whole Pan-Africanist idea comes from, understanding the commonalities between these African groups. And if you can get them to understand not only their shared cultural and linguistic and historical experiences, you give them a basis to do business with each other.
That never happened.
Because Pan-Africanism is a defense against the powers. Because if you value the goods and services of other folks, no matter how much money you get, you're just going to give the money and give the resources back to the others in the first place. So you have to have a foundation where you value yourself and your people and your culture, which is why I cited at the beginning to have a love and an appreciation for African people. If you don't
so give the money to them, not happening.
Love African people, you won't be able to do business. That's where all the resources are. You want to start in building cell phones? Where are you going to get the cobalt?
Really? Yo, please don't do that argument. Yo, family, is he serious? Like, Africa is for sale. You get the cobalt where everybody else get the cobalt from. Just ask Putin where he get his cobalt from. Like, come on, man.
Where are you going to get these resources? The stuff is in Africa. Everybody's going to Africa except Africans in the diaspora. And so regardless if the Europeans in the United States give us reparations or not, we still have work to do. And you have to do it within some kind of theoretical framework. And Pan-Africanism is one such framework.
That is retarded.
To achieve specific type of goals.
I'm going to cook that point.
So part of that strategy is getting to learn about each other.
FBA, Grand Negus,
deal with each other, visit each other. You have a new name.
Crashing out.
Dr. Maat.
He's preaching.
Why? Where did you
she got a new name too?
Get that new name?
Oh my God, she got a new name too? Yeah, I'm telling you, they're dropping the Egyptian stuff because that hustle is done. They grifted there and now they grift into Africa, but they call us grifters. Okay, all these name changes. Tariq Nasheed name is Tariq Nasheed. As long as we ever known him, that's always ever been. I don't see him change his name to fit these different hustles that they claim that we're into. Mm-mm. These guys are changing their names because they know they can't really sell you Pan-Africanism with a name like Asari Motep or Dr. Mayhat. These are Egyptian names. You dig? You're gonna sell Egyptian merch with those names.
Name. Where did you go? You went to the continent and dealt with the people there and established relationships. I just got off the phone a little while ago from a brother who lives in Paris who's from the Congo. We're going to be working together to start tourism from the diaspora of the United States into the Congo.
I hope you ain't paying him, because there's a high chance you're gonna scam this out of you.
There's already African-centered universities in South Africa. There's AI, international, that's in Brazil, that's in France, that's in London, of course, in the United States and all that. You have all of these different organizations already there working, building relationships, starting the economic process, sharing our stories and experiences.
I ain't see J Dog in the building. He said, and Quentin in the building, and Nito Swain in the building. Yo, J Dog said because they scam everybody but white folks and Arabs and Asians. Quentin says Africans don't even be in Africa, right? He talking about, man, the African dude he doing business with right here in goddamn Detroit. He said they have no control over those resources. Right? They sold them all. Nito Swain laughing. One day she said he's preaching to a 5-year-old. Right? Come on, bro. It's not working.
And exchanging money with each other. It's
But
already
Paris,
happening.
right?
We don't have to. It's not a theory. This is stuff that we do and I do every single day. People are building schools in Africa. People Professor Smalls would not with their hotels,
really?
Hiring and doing things.
I would love to see a picture of his hotel in Ghana.
In Africa. People are even moving to Africa, setting up business and stuff like this, and still keeping a connection here in the United States.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I hear. Hold on. BTP, look. We're going to have a rebuttal round. Just can you write it down what your question is? Because we're going to have a rebuttal round where you get to ask Brother Asar questions, and go ahead, finish your time, Brother Asar, because you only have like a couple of minutes left. Go ahead and finish, King. You finish?
I'm good.
All right. Well, we can. I know that you used your time to like address, I guess, what was said, and to further expound on the Let me go back to it. How or what implementations, how to implement the strategy. Brother BTP Ali and Brother Lord Abba, do you all want to, expound on what you said, regarding the implementation of the strategy?
Before they do that, he said, what if the U.S. said no? He said the U.S. refused to pay the reparations, then Pan-Africanism is basically a backup plan. So like he's implying some type of sovereignty, self-determination, even creating some type of homeland in Africa as the ultimate safeguard in case the United States say no reparations, get out, niggas. So family, they always got this fall of America theory in their head. The US dollar is gonna fall. Where you gonna go, niggas? All of their theories is predicated on America falling. That is literally called utopian fallback. Okay. Since the 1800s, we've been hearing this back to Africa with Martin Delaney and Paul Cuff and those guys, Richard Allen, Alex Cromwell, right? They've been talking that back to Africa way back in the 1800s, and it has never materialized. None of those guys died in Africa. They all died in America, all right? They went to Africa, seen how primitive it was, seen it was dominated by, Europeans, and brought their butt right back to America and died U.S. citizens, right? They actually fought in the Civil War too. And then they died proud Americans. Martin Delany too. They want, oh, he was the first Pan-African. Well, guess what? He went to Africa, brought his ass back and said, hell no, and fought in the Civil War for his citizenship in America and died here a proud America. He didn't die in Africa. All right. But the fact is this: Pan-Africanism has no enforcement mechanism against the U.S. Period. All right. The only proven tools are U.S. law, courts, and political blocs. That's a fact. So if the U.S. says no, the solution isn't to abandon ship and run to Africa, flee to Africa. What the hell wrong with you, man? We're fighters. So it's what we're going to do is we're going to escalate political pressure domestically. We don't just take no. And like, for example, when we was looking for freedom from slavery, they said no. All right, let's flee to Africa. Let's go to Liberia. No, it ain't happen like that. Civil rights, no civil rights. Jim Crow only. All right, let's follow Marcus Garvey back to Liberia. It's not what happened, bro. It's not how we do. Just like every other reparations precedent group, like the Japanese Americans, Native Americans, they were told no, 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 like Destiny Child, but then they said yes, 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 and they got what they needed. Now, what he does is, you heard earlier, he's gonna try to quote respected scholars like Dr. Amos Wilson, and he mentioned Sheikh Anta Diop. I think he's a foreigner, African guy. So remember what he said. He said, money alone won't fix us. Economies are relationships, not just cash, right? Now, all of a sudden, he's an economist, that guy. Now, we're going to hear what Dr. Sandy Darity said about that quote in a second. So he said, Pan-Africanism builds cultural and economic unity across Africa, and that's needed for defense against Western exploitation. You know, it's all about the evil big bad West. Then he points to Diop's plan, Sheikh Anta Diop's plan for African unity. First of all, we're not Africans, so that don't apply to us. But he talked about getting a second language, Swahili as a lingua franca, Afrocentric curricula as evidence of Pan-Africanism works. You know, they got these studies, you know, it's always a college somewhere, a HBCU college or whatever they are, black college, where some professor got a Pan-Africanist study there. And like they act like the class be filled to the tip top. Family, here's the end. Here's what it's all about. Pan-African unity is an African development agenda. It doesn't obligate the U.S. Treasury. They got to go, I don't know, with the UN, I don't know where they're going to go with that one. But that has nothing to do with us and our government. So building an African lingua franca doesn't repair us from what was robbed, the wealth and land and citizenship rights. That's not going to do nothing for us. Okay. So Wilson is right that money alone isn't culture, right? Obviously, who says it is? But without money, guess what? You can't fund schools, therapy, or defense. Everything he just named, that's going to take money, buddy. So reparations is about restoring stolen capital, not replacing cultural pride. Yeah, we got to work that on your own. So again, no Pan-African summit has ever cut checks. None of them. And they've been to hella conferences and summits. U.S. courts and Congress have. So go to all your conference all you want, and no check will ever be cut. Like BTP Ali and Naeem said, you got to take your ass to U.S. court. Now, self-reparations is just self-help with a new name. That's all. It doesn't make the government pay its debt. It just pull your bootstrap up mentality on a retarded level. Japanese Americans didn't need Pan-Asianism. You dig? They needed signatures in Congress. The same thing for us. We don't need Pan-Africanism. We need signatures in Congress. So if Pan-Africanism has been promising reparations since the 1900 conference in London and hasn't delivered in 125 years, why are we going to trust it now? That's the question back to Asar. You said reparations was on the table. You were lying, but let's take your lying as truth. You said reparations was on the table in that 1900 Pan-Africanist conference in London, and it produced a nothing burger. But now is the time, you're saying? Cultural pride is necessary, and that's all Pan-Africanism is about, just cultural pride for Africans, right? Just for Africans, okay? But again, feeling good about being African and painting stuff on your face, that never closes a wealth gap. Policy does, all right? It goes back to the argument. The courts, there's no way to avoid the courts. So when a Pan-Africanist dilutes our claim, right, of course our claim is thus weakened. Reparations works best when it's precise. That's why we say lineage-based only, right? Lineage-based, and that makes it legally enforceable. Race-based is not going to be legally enforceable. It's a nothing burger. They're going to say deny, okay?
Strategy, or do you want to move to the last question?
Well, we could move to the last question, but I just want to read something because Brother Asa Imhotep, he pulled up a lot of people. Many of them were Africans, non-Americans, not invested in the political fight.
125, yeah, it's definitely agent. So it's definitely agent talk, is informant talk, and they just been paid off. You dig? Like again, Biden gave those Africans $1 billion. I wonder what was in that deal. Like that was not disclosed. And it's probably a push this Pan-Africanist shit on FBA's, get them off this reparation talk, or at least derail them, have them argue something that's not admissible in court.
In the United States, I would like to just pull up an actual American, right, from here to Accra. I would like to just read this real quick. Just a little opening from Dr. Sandy Darity and A. Kirsten Mullins. It says, because this is the top.
Yo, why is Dr. Maya holding the book up? Dr. Maya, did you read it? If you read it, you would be on the side of Naeem and BTP Ali.
Tonight.
That's
Racism
right.
and discrimination have choked economic opportunity for African Americans at nearly every turn. At several historic moments, the trajectory of racial inequality could have been altered dramatically. Perhaps no moment was more opportune than the early days of Reconstruction, when the U.S. government temporarily implemented a major redistribution of land from former slaveholders to the newly emancipated enslaved. But neither Reconstruction nor the New Deal nor the Civil Rights struggle led to an economically just and fair nation. Today, systemic inequality persists in the form of housing discrimination, unequal education, police brutality, mass incarceration, employment discrimination, and massive wealth and opportunity gaps. Economic data indicates that for every dollar the average white household has in wealth, the average black household possesses a mere 10 cents. I applaud Asa Imhotep and those who study Pan-Africanism and can quote their scholastic heroes. I can quote some Pan-Africanists myself. I can quote some Islamic scholars. I can quote some stuff. But on this topic of reparations, we must deal with the subject matter. How can we get the economic inclusion that the United States of America boxed us out of, that comes by way of reparations? With all due respect, nothing that our opponent on this particular topic tonight has said has proven what Pan-Africanism can do. He talked about opening schools in Africa and
Africa, all this feel good stuff. Like, you look at his face, he looks crazy.
Do you support reparations for Black people?
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination and segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, Black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the LIFT Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit, which will benefit and uplift 60% of Black families who are in poverty.
What the hell that got to do with reparations? Yeah, did you support reparations? You said a LIFT Act.
So by default, it affects Black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at
hey, yo, she is very horrible with questions or rebuttals that she didn't prepare for. Like, she's really like, because I noticed about her, she's really good when she's like well versed. But just now, like, she thought the lady was gonna say, okay, all right, 60% Black families, okay, cool. But when she get a rebuttal, like, okay, well, but there's nothing specific. Look, she's about to do what he just did. She's going to make up a whole bunch of bullshit.
By default, it affects Black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit Black children, Black families, Black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that.
Okay.
Let's really be clear about that.
Uh-oh. Crashing
so I'm
out.
not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No, because whatever benefits that Black family will benefit that community and society as a whole. And
wait, one more time. Yeah, she just crashed. She just said, fuck it. I got no answer for you. You want to know the truth? No.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No, because whatever benefits that Black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country. Right?
Okay, there you go. Just be real. Look, that's been your first answer. Not to lift all bullshit. Hey, do you support reparations? No. Okay, policy for Black folks gonna help out everybody else. So yeah, I mean, just be real. But she crashed out the same way the brother in the top right is crashing out with the things he's saying. He said building schools in Africa. What that got to do with reparations in America?
Investments, I believe, he alluded to investing over there when we're broken over here. For every one of us that leaves from here and go over there, that's one less ballot that we would cast for someone like myself, Ali, even you, Dr. Maya, or even Brother Asa Imhotep, because that's the reality of the situation. Is that we can beat all of this stuff, all of it. But here in the United States of America, we have a fight going on. And by the year 2053, the median Black worth right now is at $1,700 without durable goods, meaning depreciating assets. By 2053, the median wealth, that's $1,700, is going to dip to zero. That means our grandchildren will not be able to.
No fucks given, sis. So in other words, it's going to help white women. Yes.
Afford to live in this place. I see no path in anything that any of our Pan-Africanists have said, any of the proponents of Pan-Africanism has said that moves us to greater economic inclusion. I'm going to end on this and pass it to Brother Ali. He spoke to the diamonds and the gold, basically.
Cobalt.
precious minerals in Africa, palladium, platinum, et cetera, et cetera. But it's being raped by other nations. And the people that are lifting the skirt of Mother Africa are its rulers, who are Africans themselves. Like, we have repair to do here, and there's repair to do there. We can't Wakanda eyes and Zamunda eyes this thing. Like, this is the reality of the situation. That's why I keep these backgrounds up, Sister Ma'at, as a reminder of our plight. That represents us right there. You got it, Brother Ali.
Hold up. I gotta say something. Hold on one second. Hold on. It's warming up in here, family. You hear the brothers. I'm over here. I'm so intellectually stimulated. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm just sitting back, listening to brother Saw Emotep, listening to brother BTP Ali, and my brother Lord Abba. My sister had to correct you. The sisters are in the building. They said it's doctor. You see the sister?
What did I say?
I think he said sister or miss or something like that. But look, my sisters are like, remember the movie Wakanda? Remember the movie Wakanda? And you had the sisters with the bald head and the spears.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Wait, the video's a little foggy. Let me blur it. Let me refresh.
Descendants of freedmen,
and that's why I took a mental picture of the timestamp. I knew it would do that. All right, but before I refresh, I definitely know exactly where to go.
I got like 20 of them in the building right now.
I know Sister Raziki. I know me and Sister Raziki. Cool. We was gonna do some little community work together.
Yeah, that's my girl.
Bunch of Moors was hating on me.
Yeah, that's my girl. Shout out to Sister Raziki. That's my heart right there.
Somebody said I'm appealing to
2014.
All right,
don't worry about that. No, Lord Abba. No. Don't give that. Yeah, don't give that no energy, brother Ali. Did you want to move to examples of success, brother?
Well, yeah. Let me just say this. The reason I wanted to show the definition of reparations and the example they gave, where it was a court basically dealing with a court matter. Reparations is something that can be achieved by way of the legislature, the executive branch, as well as the judiciary. And that has been the case in multiple instances. Even when people win civil suits, like for instance, George Floyd's family just won a $27 million suit, right? And they're winning the suit based on the racial injustice that they had to deal with by losing their family member to a state operative, and the injury that is going to cause the lifelong injury. And so the only thing that they can do is try to address it financially, right? With restitution, some kind of compensation, reparation. We know that these words are all synonymous. So reparations has been done through the courts. Reparations has been done by way of city ordinances. There was a group of African-American men who had been subjected to terrorism by the Chicago Police Department for a number of years. The city of Chicago's city council passed what they called a reparations ordinance, where they actually ordered the paying of compensation to the African-American victims of racial terrorism by way of the Chicago Police Department. Rosewood, and we're not even talking about dollar amounts. The whole thing is whether or not reparations can be done without Pan-Africanism. And the actual emphatic fact is yes, because it already has been in the United States. That's the thing that, so just to answer this whole thing in a nutshell, it's not really yes or no. The truth of the matter is yes, because it already has been done multiple instances. Reparation is the repairing of something where a wrong was done and money is paid as a form of repair. Not saying that it's going to fix everything, but it's something that they can do, which is to offer money, whether that's a civil settlement, whether that is something that comes by way of an ordinance in the city, legislation from the state, or legislation from the federal government as they did with the Japanese Americans and the Aleutians in terms of what happened to them during World War II. So on every level of government, city, state, federal, reparations has been done. Pan-Africanism had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. Had everything to do with people getting justice for the wrongs that was done. Period. Can it be done? Yes, it already has been. It's a simple answer. It's really not even anything to dance around with
At all.
right? And the other thing I wanted to touch on when our good brother was talking about all of these investments in Africa, which is fine. If that's what someone wants to do, invest in Africa, that's fine. You can invest in schools over there. You can invest in hotels over there, whatever it is you want to do. The question that I often have to ask, though, is how many Black-owned American businesses does the African nations or do the African nations invest in? I'm a Black-owned business owner, right? I have my own business. Where's the fund for Native Black Americans coming from the African nations? These are sovereign, independent, allegedly sovereign, independent nations over there in Africa, right? Have their own economies. Where is our assistance? From the time that our people were emancipated to this day, there's never been any kind of investment from Africa in us, right? We're the lost sons and daughters of Africa, right? We're the ones that's lost. Why is everybody looking to us to invest in that entire continent? That's a big ass continent, like you said.
Right.
50-something nations, right? It's a big continent with sovereign states, economies, militaries, police forces, all kinds of things. But we have to invest in them. People expecting us to invest in them. Where is the African investment in African Americans? They're the ones with the standing armies.
Right.
We're just citizens. We're just taxpaying citizens over here.
And do you know that's what I played a excerpt from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad book, Message to the Black Man in America. And he spoke on that. He spoke on like, why are we helping out Africa? You know, he said we are dependent. Don't forget, he's writing his book from a segregation perspective. Okay. So he said, yeah, why are we helping Africa? Like, we're the one that isn't help. Like, we're under a shitty government who got Jim Crow rules, who deny us civil liberties. They should be helping us out. Like, they are independent. They are the ones with the government. They got the army, everything he's saying. They got the resources, the cobalt, all that shit. Why are we helping them out? Like, they should be helping us out. So same thing he's saying.
With a plight that we're trying to overcome.
Ooh.
So, I'm just saying, like, it sounds good, right? All of this stuff sounds good, and we've heard it a million times. It's not like anything that brother is saying is new. We've heard this stuff a million times. We got to invest. We got to do this. We can go over to Africa. People don't travel, and because they don't travel, they don't understand. Listen, all of that, right? Fine. Our people right here have homes. We have businesses. We have all kinds of things. Nobody invests in our stuff. Even when let me tell you something, I'm in Harlem. There's a bunch of Africans that come right into the middle of our communities, African American or Native Black American communities, come here, set up shop right down 116th Street between Lenox and 7th. That whole street, the African martyrs, right across the street from the mosque where Malcolm X used to preach on 116th Street, the African marketplace right there. You know what Black Americans do? They go into the African marketplace and they support those people. You know what African Americans do? All of the hair braiding shops on 116th, up there on 125th Street, right? Down 7th Avenue, down 8th Avenue. You know what the African Americans do? They go in there and they get their hair braided. So they support those people. They support them. But there's no investment from Africa into our businesses, and it never has been. And that's something that Pan-Africanists in America need to address. Y'all need to be talking to them about investing in our people over here. We're the lost ones. We're the descendants of the people who got kicked out of there. You understand? Invest in us. Where's that at? But see, I'm just saying, because it always comes off as some kind of a chastisement. Like, you people are you're so slow and you don't travel enough, so you don't understand what you're supposed to be doing.
They all do that.
Where's the chastisement for them?
They all do that.
Ooh, hold on.
I'm just saying. And
I'm just saying, I love the brother. Let me tell you something. I use his work from academia.edu. His works on the determinatives and the glyphs and all. Listen, that brother's dope. That brother's dope, but we're talking about something else. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Implementation.
I had to put up this
quote. How you implement it.
Look, I had to put up this quote, brother FBA Nigel. He said when Dr. Ma'at went to Elmina slave castles, they was busy selling her stuff. He ain't lying.
Yo, what? They was bootlegging your stuff?
No, he was.
Yo, what?
Oh, he telling the truth. Brother FBA Nigel, stop. Brother saw Imhotep. Go ahead, brother saw Imhotep. You're up. Go ahead, brother, and give us some examples of success.
You
brother.
muted. You muted.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah. Go ahead and give us some examples of success, brother Asar.
Yeah, we got to be careful of a lot of personal anecdotal conversation when it comes to stuff like this. Because unless you've done a systemized study of what countries or what people in Africa are doing in terms of their investments, because I've had plenty of Africans invest in me and the work that I do.
Oh,
so besides the scholarship, I'm a software developer. So I build apps, I build websites and stuff to this nature, and Africans have supported me. But I can't use that and say that is the case for everybody. You know, that is anecdotal. And so we got to be careful here. And it's the same thing like with Lord Abba talking about what goes on Clubhouse app. But, you know, for those of us who grew up in the 80s and early 90s, we were the ones calling them African booty scratchers and all of this other kind of dusty.
No, we weren't. A family. I was talking to my older brother earlier, and he was like, yo, Ron. He said, think about it. He said, when you were in a family, this is for anybody 40 years and older. And be honest, because my experience isn't your experience and vice versa. Sometimes it is. But my brother was like, Ron, be honest. He said, when you were growing up in elementary and middle school, have you ever, and we're talking about New Jersey, right? He said, have you ever seen a Jamaican in your class? And I thought about it. Elementary, first through fifth, maybe sixth, some states, middle school, 6th through 8th or 7th through 8th. I'm like, nah, I don't recall ever. He's like, yeah, it's because they were hiding their accents. He said, we didn't really know Jamaicans until we got into high school. Then I thought about it. Yeah, my boy Alex, he was definitely Jamaican. I was in high school. He had the high waters. Like, oh yeah, I'm like, that's crazy. So when they said call them African booty scratchers, wait a minute. They might have been called an African booty scratcher family, but it wasn't because they were Jamaican or African. It was simply because they were black and possibly dark skinned. But we didn't know they were Jamaicans. We didn't know that they were from the islands because they wouldn't use their accents in front of us. So we thought we're just calling a regular black American an African booty scratcher. But because they're getting hit with it, they think it was just for them. And I still don't believe all of them were called an African booty scratcher. That's just a corny ass lie.
Stuff, when they came over here, I know for a fact because I've done it, and that's one of the complaints that they would have, and which caused a lot of the rift between us here. Is we would call them all kinds of African booty scratches and all this other kind of stuff. So they would come over here thinking that we don't like them, but that's
wait.
It's not the case. You had a group of people who respect.
Yeah, no wonder he didn't want to pull up my podcast. Yeah, like this right here, like he just lying.
And adored African people, and then you have a group of people who don't. If you were African and you came into New York in the Harlem, not in Harlem, you went to you was in Manhattan and you just came across the Hebrew Israelites standing on the corner and they talking about how bad Africans are and that they're dirty and all this other kind of stuff. You don't know, you can't separate the Hebrew Israelites in ISUPK from you know, this other group over here.
Oh,
Yes, he did. They knew they was a religious group. They only argued from the Bible. Stop it, liar.
You thinking that's
Yes, you
all
can.
the African Americans, and they just think that we
That's why he laughed. He said, "Yes, you can."
shit. You know, so we got to be.
So the Pan Africans dude with the Pan Africans with the Egyptian name and African name. He's just a liar, man. He just can't be honest.
Careful in how we are approaching these particular conversations. And so, like, when we're talking about strategies and things of this nature, again, as I stated from the beginning,
that's the most honest thing she said. She get aroused, but he's funny. Yo, y'all are going in on the host, on the moderator. Ho. African booty scratcher shit. Yeah, come on, man. I Enoch the elect says every black kid in the urban areas told mama jokes and blast one another. Yeah, right. We're joshing. Let me give I Enoch the elect the moderator status. Give Millennials Wrench. Hey, I Enoch, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because tomorrow I'm going to continue this a little bit. I'm going to be cooking on Charlie Kirk, because he had a lot of reparation debates with whites and blacks on the campuses. So I'm going to play a couple of videos and cook on him. And that might be it, unless something else pop up that's very important. But I do want to go over the Tariq Nasheed and Andrew Schultz recap. Now, I did a recap before, but it was just myself just winging it, freestyling. I didn't fact check it, right? I was fact checking on the fly. But I'm going to fact check Andrew Schultz's arguments before the fly. So therefore, I'm like more formatted. So tomorrow I might do that. Tomorrow I might do a live going over playing the Andrew Schultz, Tariq Nasheed debate, and then fact checking Andrew Schultz.
Certain things have more success in the larger project than others. So when it comes to the cultural and political and social stuff, we can give examples of Pan-Africanism working all day. But in terms of a unification of states, that hasn't happened yet. You know, but you can see, for example, like with the East African bloc, they've already come together on that. They haven't come together to make political states, but they've come together with an East African treaty in terms of economics and things of that nature. So that's one thing. And for example, part of the Pan-African project is the development or the usage of a single African language. And the proposal, the most successful, has been Kiswahili. And there's a number of African continents where Kiswahili is the national language, you know, now. And so, you know, you have these little successes in terms of, for example, you know, part of the of the Pan-African project is the theory of Afrocentricity. Afrocentricity has went around the world, and they've developed, for example, whole entire African American studies programs based on Afrocentricity. The field is now called Africology. So you have different Africology departments now here across the United States and in Canada. They're starting one in Brazil, and they're working on one in France right now. I know a whole university in South Africa is now fully Afro-centric. And so the ideas that have emerged out of this Pan-African conversation and movement is happening everywhere. It's slow, but there's other issues in politics and history that has to be discussed in terms of you know, we act like COINTELPRO was something that was only in the 60s and 70s. Like, that stuff exists all across the continent. They have a whole military branch that's their focus. We call them Green Berets. A Green Beret's job is to go into, with no more than 12 individuals, and destabilize governments. And so if you're going to have these conversations about what's going on and why certain things can't connect, it has to be done within context. with respect to history and knowledge of how the United States moves. And so when we have this conversation, that again, it's not an issue of either or, it's both and. And no Pan-African has any problem in terms of the conversation with reparations and understands all the legal aspects of this and what that is all about. There's no debate. Nobody's arguing against that. So it's not, that's not our time. The question is, and this should have been the real question, what is the goal ultimately of reparations? Is it sovereignty? Is it liberation? Is it independence? And can you achieve that in the United States, still being governed by others? And also, what if the United States says no? What are you going to do when they say no? What's the backup plan?
Oh boy.
You got all the legal arguments.
Okay, let's back up. Okay, so the backup plan is the backup right here. All right, so family, 12 minutes to 1 a.m. East Coast, you know, it's late over here. 1 o'clock was my limit, but I'm gonna close it out before 1 o'clock. So now you see we got like what? Damn. Still got what, 50 more minutes? No. Yeah, damn man. No, I'm sorry. We got 40. Damn, about 50 more minutes of this shit. Yeah, so we I'm gonna close this one out right there. We're gonna pick back up on this tomorrow. That I'm gonna cook on Charlie Kirkland. So he had a couple of debates with some people, and you know, he had like 3 debates. I think one for sure was staged. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this right here, which I promised earlier. I'm proud to be Black outro, and tomorrow morning we'll pick back up on this, starting with Tap. Peace, family. I'm gonna get too sleepy. Next day, you feel me? Next day.
Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. 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 Say it loud, I'm not ashamed of being black. Black Panthers, Black Wall Street, Black power, Black love, Black man, Black woman, the Black dollar, Black love. I'm not African, I've never been to Africa, I'm never going to Africa, no ancestor from Africa. We're Black American, but don't forget the foundation of say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. 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 Say